What's up, everybody? Welcome to PSI Love You XOXO episode 34. I'm one of your hosts, Greg Miller, alongside the new face of video games, Blessing Adeoye Jr.
Greg, can you believe we made it to episode 34? That's Walter Payton's number.
Oh, you son of a bitch!
Did I get the name right? Walter Payton? Is that his
you
name?
did? You nailed it.
Okay, thank God.
Yeah. It's like when you're in a board, you're like in a meeting, and your coworker says the exact idea you had to like your boss before you can, and then like it's their idea. Now Kevin thinks you're cool, you know.
Yeah,
you know
the whole audience knows how well that I know Chicago Bears football and their players, like Dick Butkus.
Yeah. I named several. Name another one.
No, that's as far as I can go.
That's as far as you can remember. Jim McMahon. Jim McMahon couldn't go. Scottie Pippen.
Scottie Pippen
taking a train to Busan right
player.
now.
Oh, you're doing it. We're going
to Busan, everybody. This is usually a Gamescast treat, but now it's going to be PSLWXO treat.
I wish I was
Korean
warned
coffee
because
from Busan.
I would have brought my own vice. You know, I would have figured something else out for myself because, of course, we're recording this.
Sandwiches.
We're recording this a bit early. We're recording this Friday afternoon.
Great point. Editorial note for everybody. I'm on vacation the week this posts, so we're doing this one ahead of time. So this is the last thing we're recording on Friday, where it's Friday, August 21st at 2 p.m. So if something crazy in the world of PlayStation happens between now and Tuesday at 6 a.m., actually, I guess more like Monday and 2:30, that's when we usually record. I got to check Games Daily for whatever's going on.
Exactly. And like usually at this point, Friday after 2 p.m., usually I've checked out. Usually I'm done for the week. And so spiritually and physically, my body is like, all right, we're done. You know, take a nap like you always do on your Friday afternoon and get prepared for the weekend. But we got this show. And so if I knew you're bringing the Busan, I would have figured something out for myself so I can get that boost.
What I love about you, Blessing, is you are a consummate performer. Like, I have no doubt that you're going to rise to the challenge here, shake it off. You're still wearing that hideous Spawn on Me shirt. I don't know if you saw this. Khalif Adams and the sandwich feud continues. He somehow, in the first 2 seconds that Games Daily went live today, where I was calling him out for making fun of my sandwich stuff, he immediately had a response prep.
No one can see that. It's mirrored.
They can see it. They can understand it.
I'm looking at the confidence monitor. They can see me.
He had a response, and he's trying to escalate this sandwich war more. And now we got Paris involved, who I have to take his side. I make my ribs in the oven just like Khalif, but now I got to be on Paris' side for this argument. So I hope you're happy. That's what you've done. Torn the world apart, and you're still here repping it. But it's Friday, so yeah.
Just to be honest, I muted that Twitter thread about 3 tweets in because I saw Khalif tweet something, and I was like, oh cool, COD added me in something. And I saw you responded, and I saw Paris responded, and I was like, this is about to go down a rabbit hole. So I'm gonna
shenanigans. I don't want to be part of these internet shenanigans.
I have no say in who's right or who's wrong in this situation.
Well, as everybody knows, I'm right and Khalif's wrong. So it's easy. It's simple. It's done. It's over. The poll happened. You all had your chance to vote on how a sandwich gets condiments put on it, and you all did, and one side of the bread works. That's it. Right, Kevin?
Yep, 100%.
Thank you, Kevin.
But you don't have anything wrong. Like, you don't have anything against the double-sided spread.
I think it's too many. I think it's too much condiment. I don't want a mustard sandwich. I want a ham sandwich. I want to taste the ham. I want the mustard to accent the ham. I don't want it to just be, because what I go back to all the time in this argument is this. If I was making a burger at home, right? Or if you're going to like a Fuddruckers where you can get a burger and top it however you want. When I get that burger, what I'm going to do is on both sides of the bun, put ketchup, mustard, and pickle. Because I want that tang. I want that explosion that goes in there and mixes with the meat and becomes a brand new flavor. When I'm eating a sandwich, I want the meat to be the flavor. You understand? Does that make sense to you?
One of the tweets that Ka tweeted today that I really appreciate is he was responding to you and John Drake, who somehow got involved in this. I missed that John Drake got involved.
John came off the bench because he saw somebody being besmirched me, and he's like, you know what? No, that's the right way to make a sandwich.
And Ka mentioned that you can't have a WAP on a DOS, being you can't have a WAP on a DAS, a wet ass pastrami on a dry ass sandwich. And you know what? I'm gonna be honest. I don't know much about what that means, but I like the phrasing used here.
First off, every time I've ever ordered a nice pastrami sandwich, you get it on rye. There's only mustard on one side of it. I don't know what restaurant you're going to, which sandwich shop you're going to, where they're putting it on both. And at this point, I think we should stop the show. Kevin, I need you to go to Amazon.com. I need you to rent American Pie. We need to jump to like the 3/4 mark where Oz is making a sandwich for Mira Sorvino. Does he put it on both sides? Like, And when I go to a Subway, I don't see them fucking smothering the bread and everything. I haven't been there in a long time.
But this seems like a trick kind of thing. Like, here's a shortcut to making a sandwich, or here's a quick tip for making a hack. Yeah, here's a life hack. Spread the sauce on both sides, then you get double the wetness. I feel like it's of that. I don't feel like it's supposed to be. I don't think it's a standardized
double the wetness.
Some people like a wet. That WAP.
That's a different thing. This is what John Drake was, because it of course escalated today and then to be a Chicago thing, where I was like, Chicagoland represent, because me and Drake are from obviously the same area in Chicago, or burbs or whatever. So it's like, all right, cool. We're all together. We know what we're doing. That's why we both feel the same way about this. And if somebody else tried to come off the bench insulting us, and John knocked their ass out, because he's like, we either want little or we want it all. Where you take the sandwich, right? You get an Italian beef and you just dunk it in the gravy. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's either that or that. All right. Kevin has pulled up, I think here on HBO Max, American Pie.
This is gonna get us taken down.
Yeah, is this being shown to the audience? Because that is a danger thing to play with.
I mean, it's like a picture right now, so it's not moving.
Okay, fair. So take it away, and then go. Yeah, like 3-4. You remember the scene I'm talking about? If you remember, Oz works. He works at a sandwich shop his dad owns, and so he makes the sandwiches. Mira Sorvini comes over there. It's when they get cast, they have to do that duet together, where they have to take it seriously. It's like when she's starting to fall for him.
Only you can see it.
Okay, great. Well, this is Stifler yelling, finding out about Finch's lies. Yeah, give me some skips. In this movie especially, yeah, this is where Stifler was great. Okay. Oh, now you're way too far. That's him. Wait, maybe you're not.
I can't see where you're at. Was it this movie where the band camp thing came from?
Yes, it is 100%.
Okay.
All right, Kevin.
I always get them mixed up, all the different American Pies.
So no, you've gone too far. This is on me. This isn't on you. You're right. You're about 3/4. Yeah, there you go. Come back. Because go back a little bit more. Yeah. Come on back. Okay, this is it. You did it. You're there.
Okay.
So they just peel me back a bit. And all right, there we go. Let's let this play a little bit and see how he makes this fucking scene. All right, here we go. This is exactly what I need. This is the most famous sandwich making scene I've ever seen in my life. So this is what we need to base it on. If I'm crazy or they're crazy. He reached for the mustard and he had the roll open in front of him. Now she's talking about fucking being. What do you see, Kev? Can you see that bigger than me?
Is there a way we can enhance?
Look, to my eyes, I'm going to show the kids.
Sure.
Hold on.
Sure.
So I see one side looking like it's got a piece of mayonnaise coming down, and then the other side looks totally dry.
Totally dry. Yeah, I do see that. Kevin, can I compliment you right now on the fucking AAA podcast you're pulling out?
Kevin's on point. Kevin is on another level.
Did you have a Busan a second ago, Kevin? Because you're fucking on another level.
I had so much coffee today.
Yes, you did.
Dude, that is awesome.
Proud of you.
Here's where I take issue is that
here we go.
You, of course,
again, I've just proven my point. I'm correct, but sure, go ahead.
You're from Illinois. John Drake is from Illinois. I too am from Illinois, and
even though you didn't know who Walter Payton was.
I think I was the one.
How are you gonna get out of this one, Bless?
I think I was the one who first referenced Walter Payton, and so I don't know what you're talking about, Greg Miller. But like, you guys are citing Illinois as, a reason why you guys are superior sandwich makers or whatever it may be.
No, just that we had the same idea on why the sandwich was made the way it was made.
Okay, because I just want to point out that Illinois doesn't have all the greatest food ideas. Of course, like we have deep dish pizza, which is great, but Illinois is also the state that loves to cut thin crust pizza into squares and
party pizza. Yeah,
yeah, I'm not about that.
So I kept the scene going, and you can see the left side still totally dry. And that sandwich is pretty close to done.
If you were here and you wanted to consent, I would kiss you, because this is just it. Because here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody knows Greg Miller, huge American Pie fan. But because obviously I could call this scene up at memory. But the question I have for you is, do you have a more famous sandwich making scene? No. In a movie? No, you don't. You know what I mean? No.
Ooh, I'd have to sit and really think about that. I can't think.
And here's the other thing, too. If you might be, you know what? Idle Hands. Kevin, you have my permission to buy Idle Hands too. Anton makes a sandwich there. And I can't remember if he puts it on both sides of the bread when he makes his bologna sandwich. However, I will tell you, I actually might own Idle Hands. I can tell you, of course, he's not a professional sandwich artist. All right? We're not asking how does your little brother throw the baseball in the backyard. We're saying how does a major league ball player throw it, right? And that's why you would go to Oz's family sandwich shop. Clearly, he would have done his research here. Chris Klein. He would have done his research here. He would have understood how to make a sandwich here. I'm Googling, or not Googling. I'm in Amazon. I do own Idle Hands. Hold on, everybody.
Oh no, we're gonna go down a rabbit hole. But I mean,
this is it. Because this is what I like to call a footnote to history. This Idle Hands viewing, because this is not part of. Hey, is this the correct way to make a sandwich or not? This is how Devin Sow and Idle Hands made it. All right, I have it open and I'm looking at it. If you want to watch it, we're at the 21:31 mark.
I don't own it. I can buy it. You say the word.
Hold on.
$8.
Hold on. So hold on. I can show you. He isn't. Oh, do I have any weird tabs open? No, just stuff for the show. He is currently put the mayo on one side of the sandwich.
But again, we're talking about a standardized way to make a sandwich versus
hold on. I'm letting it play, and I'm going to see if he goes the other side. And again, this doesn't count as a real thing. Ooh.
Does he go the other side?
I think he does, because he does it. I can't show you right. He does it once on the one piece of bread, puts the mayo down, pulls up another piece of bread and wipes it there, and then okay, there is definitely mayo and blood on both sides. Idle Hands is a horror movie if you didn't know, but like I said, that doesn't count. And also, I'm gonna just toss it out there. Doesn't that look disgusting? That is way too much mayo for a sandwich. Look at it, just on both sides of the bread, oozing out, being disgusting. Devin Sow, I would have expected better as an actor from you. But maybe actually, you know what? I'm casting it too quickly. Because remember, of course, in this movie, he's a stoner, he's a washout, he's a fucking loser, apparently like Khalif Adams in Spawn on Me, who doesn't know how to make a sandwich. It makes sense, actually. I come back around.
Is that the devil's hand doing?
Chris Klein's, no, he's not fully. Well, he's using them both at this point, but it's clearly Anton in control of this.
I'm on an article from Nerdist that is 12 iconic sandwiches from TV and movies, and they start off with the Birds of Prey, the perfect egg sandwich, which I think, recent movie, and so it's hard to put it up there with like the classic
great sandwich, but that doesn't count for what we're talking about, does it?
I mean, what are we talking about? Like sandwich making?
A breakfast sandwich. Rules are out the window on how you're making that. You put it on a Kaiser roll. You're doing all this stuff. We're talking very specific.
It's still a sandwich, though. Like a sandwich is. Are we talking specifically a mayonnaise ham sandwich?
I keep going back to a ham sandwich in my argument here, because again, like this is what people love to do. They love to pull the argument in all these different ways and try to throw it back in my face. What I'm saying is the only way to make a sandwich properly is to put the condiment on one side, one piece of bread. It's the same way Oz did in the movie American Pie. Done.
Then I withdraw, because I'm not a big ham sandwich person, and so I don't really have an opinion on the ham sandwiches.
That was like 15 minutes of arguing to be like, I withdraw. I don't know we're talking about a ham sandwich. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about PlayStation, because this is PS I Love You XOXO. Each and every Tuesday at 6 a.m. Blessing and I come to you with a nerdy show about nerdy PlayStation geek out fun times. If you like that, head over to patreon.com/kindafunnygames. Over there, you can be part of the show with your questions. You can get the show ad free. You can get the show with the exclusive post show we do each and every week. And on a normal day, you can watch us record the show live, because we're not live right now, right, Kev?
Nope.
Yeah, okay. Usually we record them live, but like with this much time, I don't want you to be able to go back and watch it, and then the YouTube numbers tank, and everybody's like, they suck. No, I can't do that. So that's why that's happening. If you don't get it live while we record it on patreon.com/kindafunnygames, no big deal. You can get it youtube.com/kindafunnygames, roosterteeth.com, and podcast services around the globe each and every week. That's Tuesday, 6 a.m. when it posts. Again, you can get it early at patreon.com/kindafunnygames. Some housekeeping for you. Guess what? This week is Gamescom, the completely digital, far-flung future Gamescom. And Thursday, it all kicks off with Opening Night Live, the Jeff Keighley Extravaganza. That is Thursday, August 27th at 11 a.m. Pacific time. We will be live reacting on twitch.tv/kindafunnygames. It will go up later on youtube.com/kindafunnygames. But I'll obviously expecting a bunch of announcements. Will we see more stuff from the Xbox Series X? Will we see something from the PlayStation 5? Definitely PlayStation 5 games, but is this where we get some kind of announcement more, unless it's already happened while we were in this weekend, of when the PlayStation 5 is coming, what it costs, something to that effect. What we do know, Fall Guys Season 2 will be teased at this event, and so you'll get that. Blessing, what's your hype level for Gamescom Opening Night Live?
I'm really excited. Like I think it's in a good place because we don't know too much about what's going to be there. And there's as far as the next gen race, there's still so much to be shown. As far as what other games can we expect for PS5 launch window or even just 2021, right? I think we could get a couple of games there, not necessarily like first party stuff, but maybe some third party, maybe some exclusive deals, maybe some more details on games that we already know about, and so like more Bugsnax stuff or more Jet the Far Shore stuff or Solar Ash stuff. Like I think that stuff has the possibility of being there. I'm really excited just to see like how this event starts to lay the future of next gen.
Question for you then.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is reasonable to expect out of this event? Is it just going to be games? Do you think PlayStation will be there to say something? Are they holding that back for their own wants and needs?
I think if a console manufacturer is there, it is more likely to be Xbox than PlayStation because we've seen the history of Xbox revealing the Series X at Game Awards, right? And for this as another Jeff Keighley event, I think it could be appropriate to see the Series S revealed here. On the PlayStation side, I feel like that's not been PlayStation's MO as far as coming out with hardware details or anything surrounding like the PlayStation 5. Like we've seen it be the Wired articles or last year, and then
that's the thing. This is such a different year in console generation or whatever you want to call for how they're releasing information. Do they care about the traditional events anymore?
Yeah, exactly. And so like between looking back, the Wired articles, the Mark Cerny thing, which like PlayStation pretty much did by themselves, right? And it was supposed to be a GDC thing, but for all intents and purposes, that was the thing that they took into their own hands. The PlayStation blog where they revealed the Dualsense, right? Like,
yeah,
I feel like we're in a different place as far as what these events mean to PlayStation, and so I'm doubtful that we see anything big from PlayStation.
I'd love to, but I'm with you that I feel like with these state of plays, with these presentations, with them, the ability to make your own organic events, I don't see why you'd try to fall in line with, hey, well, this is the normal thing. This is how we've done it before. Jeff's doing something. Like, that's cool and that's great, but your PlayStation. Like, if you want to put up as a blog post, if you want to put it up as a video, if you want to just have an interview with Wired, no matter what you say, people are going to listen. And it doesn't really depend on where you make them listen.
Yeah, that said, I think there's a lot of game stuff that we could get.
Totally.
Like I wouldn't be surprised to get updates. And so like even I bring up the PlayStation Indies site page that they have all the time. I can see like any one of those games having updates there. Again, like Solar Ash, Jet the Far Shore, the Housemark game that I keep forgetting the name of. Unless that is Jet the Far Shore. I get Jet the Far Shore is the Super Brothers one.
Yeah.
I'm looking it up.
I'm hung up on Matterfall, which obviously is their own Returnal, which is such a weird name.
Yes, stuff like that. The Capcom game, that made appearance. Like I think there's so much potential for any one of those games to appear and for us to get future updates on it. But I'm not expecting anything too big.
All right then. We'll stay tuned. Thursday, you can watch along with us. Like I said, 11 a.m. Pacific time, twitch.tv/kindoffunnygames. Podcast services later. No, that's not right. Well, I think Gamescast is going to be the post show to it. So the Gamescast will be there. And then of youtube.com/kindoffunnygames for everything. Back to this show. P.S. I love you, XOXO. Thank you to our Patreon producers who supported us at patreon.com/kindoffunnygames. Mohammed, aka Momo. Julian, the gluten-free gamer. Skin Tight Salmon. Jeffrey Long, or as we like to call him, Jeffy PP Long. Sancho West, and James Hastings. Today, we're sponsored by youtube.com/kindoffunnygames, but I'll tell you about that later. For now, let's begin with this week's X's and O's. Kevin, hit the song.
X's and O's. X's and O's.
Topic of the show for this one comes from patreon.com/kindoffunnygames. Blessing and I were going back and forth on Slack this week, right? Hey, what do you want to talk about? We had a special episode. It's out of the rotation, and not that I think there's going to be major breaking news, even though now that I said that there will be. Even though usually the news breaks Tuesday morning or Monday night just to fuck with this show no matter what.
And
thank you, Kevin. What do you want to talk about? We went back and forth with different topics. And then this one came in from a young man named Nathan Choquette. Also, Nathan Choquette, I want you to know this. You are a dedicated supporter on patreon.com/kindoffunnygames of both this show, and I see you on Games Daily. You're all over the place. You're a best friend. I appreciate it. You no longer need to spell your last name phonetically. I feel like you're wasting a good 3 seconds you can have back in your life. And for the amount of questions you're submitting, I understand your name and I see it and I appreciate it. Blessing, agreed?
Agreed.
Thank you. Nathan writes in and says, Mr. Eric Lempel has made the claim that PS5 will have the greatest games lineup in the history of PlayStation. And while I'm not sure it's necessarily a hard take to make, seeing as how it's going to be the most cutting edge hardware from Sony, it did make me curious about something. When looking back at previous generations, including the PS4, what plays the biggest role for you personally in crowning a generation as the best? Nostalgia, the scope or narrative heights games were able to achieve, or something else entirely? Thanks for all the great work, you both. If you missed it, Eric Lempel last week, wink. Not like today, you know what I mean? Wink.
Oh yeah,
like
because
last week.
we're still in last week.
Fucking got it, you know what I mean? Gamesindustry.biz put up an article that was titled PlayStation, launching a console during a pandemic is a massive challenge on every front. And it was Eric Lempel from PlayStation talking about the hurdles to PlayStation 5. And it was mainly centered around the new ad. Have you seen this ad, Blessing, this trailer?
I have. It's the ad that is like the lady who's like doing
in her apartment or whatever.
Yeah.
It's the lady doing the different things. You know it well. You know what I'm talking about,
I've seen the video.
Yeah, but the idea is that it's a trailer for the PlayStation 5 that kind of reminds me of, and this is a reach, but I think most of your nerds like us, when you go to the Dolby Theater and they're like, the blacks are so black, the thing's still on, the waves are crashing, they're showing you the differences. It's that kind of thing where it's trying to show you three-dimensional sound around this woman, and it's trying to show you the haptic feedback stuff as she, of course, draws back.
She's
a
like
bow.
shooting an arrow. Yeah,
exactly. God damn, this fucking played out thing that is all they can talk about.
Well, we're gonna talk a lot about that in PS5 Watch, because I actually want to break down some of that stuff.
All right, I won't get into it then. So that is the centerpiece of this article is Eric talking about basically, we have to make this trailer that was completely filmed in quarantine. Like the actress filmed that at her house, and it's hard to tell you what the PlayStation 5 is about when we really want to show you. He has a quote in there of like, if this was a normal year, we'd have demo stations, there'd be the truck, you'd be able to play this thing, and you can't do that in the pandemic. So we have to think outside the box on it. But at the end of it, he has this quote. Once you get beyond all the features of the PlayStation 5, which makes it a true next generation product, it's about the content. The content that will be in the launch window and beyond is incredibly exciting. I would say that this is the best lineup that we've ever seen in the history of PlayStation, between our worldwide studio groups and our partners from all different publishers around the world. We've revealed some of the content, and naturally, there will be more to come. But the way that the developers can engage with this platform and create these new experiences with known IP as well as unknown IP is incredibly exciting. Obviously, that's a piece of the puzzle. You've heard everyone from PlayStation, when they talk about the PlayStation 5, talk about how it is going to be this giant thing. And that plays back to Nathan Choquette, who says, when looking back at previous generations, what plays the biggest role for you personally in crowning a generation as the best? Blessing, this question spoke to me on a number of different ways, but what I love about it is it's not the traditional video game podcast question of what is the best generation? And then we argue games, this, that, the other. It really is this argument of, how do you define Blessing Adeoye Jr. in your own head when somebody does ask you what's the best PlayStation generation? How do you look and figure out what you want to judge it on?
I mean, it's hard for me to judge, honestly, because I think you can make you can make a number of different arguments. I like what Eric says in his quote here, where he says it's about the content, because it is, right? At the end of the day, like, people are going to judge a platform by the games, and that rings true when we look around. I actually just made a tweet today, not about PlayStation, about Nintendo, because there was a graphic. Okay, no, I'll skip this one. No, there was a graphic that they tweeted out from the Indie World Showcase that happened last week. That was all the games that they talked about, and it was all the logos, right? And we've been talking a lot about Nintendo on other shows about how, this as far as what their upcoming output looks like from first party, there's not much to chew on. Like, there's Pikmin 3, which we have the date for, and that's about it. Everything else is pretty much in the ether. And I saw the Indie World graphic and saw how many different games they had laid out as far as like the indie offering coming to Nintendo, and it's actually a pretty impressive graphic. And I tweeted out that, hey, like, we talk a lot about how we don't see much coming out of Nintendo upcoming, but if you look at this graphic, like, I'm okay with what we got here. Like, this all seems awesome to me. And again, that comes back to content. Like, where there is good content, that is going to essentially set the tone of how people feel about the platform. To the question of what makes a platform better than the other, or what makes a generation better than the other, or what will make the next generation a success. I think that could be a number of things, right? Like, are we talking about success as far as numbers, like success as far as how much this console sold? Are we talking about success as far as
this is a philosophy
innovation?
question? You know what I mean? We're asking about whatever you want to talk about.
Because for me,
that's what Nathan Choquette is doing.
I think there's an argument that Nathan kind of alluded to a little bit in his question, that like, yeah, every generation is going to be better than the last, because we do see innovations in technology, and games do continue to get bigger and more technically advanced and better designed, and we learn things like as we go. And I think you can make the argument that every generation is better than the last.
And that was something, if I can interject here, I found fascinating. As I say, just about every PS I Love You XOXO these days. And I will say again, I cannot compliment you, the Kind of Funny community, the best friends, and specifically the PS I Love You XOXO audience enough. Again, we were putting together the show to record at 2 p.m. today. We chose this topic, I think, right around Games Daily at like 9:30. And I put up a tweet, I think, after Games Daily at noon, and had a plethora of responses from all of you who were ready to tell me what you think makes the best generation. But then also I put in there, just even though I don't want this to be the show and what we argue, what you think the best generation of PlayStation has been. And I was shocked, honestly, that the overwhelming response there was PlayStation 4. That it was this generation. And all of you had different reasoning as to why and different arguments as to why. But when you sit here and you talk about the best generation of any platform or video games in general, right? I think, as you know, Nathan brings up this idea of nostalgia, I think usually that speaks so loudly in our heads. And it is that thing of like, oh man, games, it was so great to have an NES or whatever. You're trading around, but like even your formative memories, or my formative memories, right, of my first PlayStation, and then getting the PlayStation 2 and the first console I bought with my own money and all this stuff. Like, you start getting these pangs of rose tinted glasses for sure, but then also, like, you know, god damn, the PlayStation 2 library was incredible. And especially, you know, for a while there, was hitting with, you know, the Grand Theft Auto 3, Metal Gear Solid 2, Grand Theft Auto Vice City, and I'm just being very selective, right, of like what I'm putting in there, Metal Gear 3 eventually, and so on and so forth. I was shocked to see so many people pop up and say, no, it's definitely this year. You know, and you know, Christopher Voigt wrote in and said, PS4/current gen, as it delivered an amazing mix between amazing new first-party IP/beloved sequels, AAA indies, unexpected indie surprises, and delights overall, right? Another one I pulled here was P. Schwag, Patrick Schweigert, who said, without a doubt, this generation. It might be a recency bias, of course, but the amount of complex storytelling and game mechanics introduced in this generation makes it an easy debate in my mind. PS1 and PS2 has the nostalgia going for it, but when you compare titles like The Last of Us Part 2, Ghost of Tsushima, God of War, or even dumb fun like Fall Guys and Jackbox to the quote-unquote golden era, it's more rewarding being a gamer now than it was then. Oh, in VR. Like, I think it's such a interesting question, and to see how everybody went through and debated this. And again, even to, you know, this question of what do you personally look for when I say what's the best generation for PlayStation? Alex wrote into patreon.com/kindoffunnygames, just like you can. It says, is this a trick question? The answer is games, right? PlayStation 4 has God of War, Last of Us Part 2, Spider-Man, Ratchet. The list goes on, and that's just the exclusives. PlayStation 4 is the best generation. Conversation over. Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of where my answer lies too, is the catalog. And that, I think that speaks even more so than like how good are the games. I think for me it does speak towards like how widely varied are the games, how many different types of experiences are you getting. And I think that is another argument for the PS4, where you do see, you mentioned it, right? Like, you see games like Last of Us Part 2, but you also see games like Fall Guys, and you also see games like Dead Cells, and you also see games like I don't know, The Last Guardian or Destiny, or I can name pretty much any other game on the PlayStation 4. Sure. And you don't really see games like that on previous generations. And that comes to the few things. That comes with the fact that the PS4 is more powerful than any other PlayStation console, obviously, that came before it. So there's that. There's also the fact that, yeah, like the different spaces have developed and, you know, expanded in cool ways, right? And so the indie space, for example, right, like that's a thing that really came to fruition last generation, when we talk about how when we talk about indies the way we view indies now. But this last generation, like, indies have obviously gotten more varied and diverse. And when I think of indie, I don't just think of 2D side scroller, right? Like when I think of indie, I do think of Hellblade, right? Dead Cells, which is what I keep bringing up. Fall Guys, right? Minecraft, which I think was last generation, but you get the point. And was indie, right? And you get the point that these are games that are so widely varied, and I think that fills the catalog with richness. Like if you ask me this question, let's say toward the beginning of this generation, or even like with the PS4 removed, my answer probably would be the PS2, which feeds back into that answer of nostalgia, for one, because the PS2 was the console I had growing up, and it was the console that had me fall in love with video games the way I am. But also, like when you look at that catalog, you do also have a diverse offering as far as, like you mentioned the Grand Theft Autos. I'm looking at a list of games that came out in 2004, just 2004. And I'm looking at Burnout 3 Takedown, which to me is one of the best video games I've ever played. Metal Gear Solid 3, Spider-Man 2, Tony Hawk's Underground 2, Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3, which is like one that hits close to me specifically. I'm seeing like Jack games. 10. Final Fantasy 10, Hitman Contracts, Katamari Damacy, Mortal Kombat Deception, and that is just 2004.
Oh shit! I'm sorry, I was talking over you. I didn't realize. I forgot that you're saying that because there's so many great games you just listed. Where I was like, oh yeah, and this and that.
Yeah, but you can expand that to the PS2 period, and that catalog is insane. And I'll put that above the PS3 and the PS1. And the reason I put that above the PS3 for me personally is I think the PS2 just had more variance in terms of the different games. I feel like PS3 had hit a point where so many games kind of felt samey. Like, of course, there's a diverse library there, but like I feel like third-person action games and shooters, and like the action game that was, dark and a lot of brown colors and like gritty, that came at like that hidden apex point, right? Like during the PS3, that I feel like kind of muddied that library a bit, even though you did have your other games there too. Like you had games like, I was gonna say Heavy Rain, but Heavy Rain is also another dark and gritty game, but it was like an adventure game, which was cool and different.
I want to bring in,
I think, your Walking Deads.
I want to bring in again Christoph. Actually, I think I said Christopher Vogt. It's actually listed here as Christoph. My apologies, Christoph. Again, what Christoph makes something the best generation. I like this here because I think it pivots the conversation into what you're talking about a little bit. Is how many high quality games reached the most players and made their days/years of living better. I like that because I think when you start talking about the quality of a game, we're no longer comparing them head to head, right? If that makes sense. Where if we were sitting there and like, do I think The Last of Us Part 2 is a better game than something from the PlayStation 1 that was beloved, right? Yeah. Like Metal Gear Solid, which I adore, right? It is that thing of, well, putting them side by side and looking at them, I think objectively you would be like, well, it looks way better, right? And it does this, and I think it's wrestling with themes in a different way, and I do think in a better way. And like I think you're not every time, obviously. Some games are timeless when you look at like Mario or whatever,
Castlevania or something like that.
Like I think it's interesting to start talking from a quality perspective rather than your personal library perspective. Again, this is just moving in a million different ways to have different arguments about it. But then quality, you start. I think the case you're making for the PlayStation 2 stands out really broadly, right? I think PlayStation 2 does have such an extensive library.
Yeah, and it had an impactful library. Yeah, exactly. I think that's such a big thing. I think you could also make the argument for innovation. Like PS1 was such an innovative console when it came down to it, and like I think you can make the argument that maybe the PS1 was more innovative than the PS2, PS3, and PS4. As far as what it did for like the shift to 3D essentially. Yeah, like when to bring back the Metal Gear Solid versus the Last of Us conversation, right? Like, could you make the argument that Metal Gear Solid means more for video games than Last of Us? I think you could. Yeah, or even like Last of Us Part 2. Yeah, like I think you can 100% make that argument. I think you can make the argument that even if we're talking just narrative, the amount of things that Metal Gear Solid did for narrative in video games and cutscenes and like breaking the fourth wall and all this different stuff, right? Like that game was a very impactful game, and it is an unfair comparison because like Last of Us Part 2, as incredible as The Last of Us Part 2 is, I don't think is in a place where it can make the same impact that Metal Gear Solid has because we're just in a different time and space now. But like as far as the innovation versus quality conversation, like Last of Us Part 2 is a more, I don't know if I'd say it's a more fully realized game, but I mean, it looks better. It plays better. Like it is more modern. There's so much stuff. There's so many things that Last of Us Part 2 is doing that Metal Gear Solid 1 like didn't do. And I think that could go either way as far as how you want to have that conversation.
Another thing I think is interesting, right? Where into this, who has the best generation? What's the best generation of PlayStation? If you were on a desert island, you could have one console, right? I wonder and this is, I think, speaks to what you're talking about of impact and the impact Metal Gear Solid had, or, on PlayStation 2, the impact GTA had. And those are both actually probably bad examples for what I'm driving at, because those were so impactful because of what they did, and they were so different, and they changed games in a bunch of different ways. But insert any game from the PlayStation 2 era and talk about how great it was, and just in general that it stood out. Even right now, glancing through the Wikipedia for the best, selling PlayStation 2 games, I feel like you literally just scroll anywhere and you're like, oh my God, what a great fucking game. Like, you find one of those right there. I wonder if the impact and the lasting legacy of these titles in our head has so much to do with them being a big fish in a small pond kind of thing. Because it's back to what is the best generation. I think that right now, compare PlayStation 4 to the PS2, and there are probably dozens more PlayStation 4 games I would rather play than I would on PS2, right? And I mean that because, of course, in PlayStation 2, we're talking about having to have a disc in a box on a store shelf. So you already have this barrier to entry for games that you don't have on the PlayStation 4, where it is that, I always joke around about it, but I'm serious that when I started at IGN, right, in 2007, we were still at a point where you could play everything that came out if you really wanted to. You could still play everything that came out on, and I'm talking just PlayStation, but even in games, when you get to the, all the systems that IGN had, it would have been more like anything of consequence. But on PlayStation, for sure, like, the games we would get shipped to us on a Tuesday or whatever, you would be able to, if you wanted to, touch them all and have an opinion about on some way, because there was just fewer games to deal with. Whereas right now, so like to this argument again, what's the best generation? Well, in a way, doesn't PlayStation 4 win out by default because there's more to play? And granted, maybe they're not, and I'm using I'll use the Amazon scale, right, of like 5 stars. Maybe there's more. You think of more 5 stars off the top of your head in games that you were just like, oh my God, how incredible they were on PlayStation 2. But I would argue that you have way more 3.5s or 4s on the PlayStation 4. So if it was this desert island argument, that you'd go there, and if you had access to everything on the PSN, if you had access to everything in your PlayStation library, you know what I mean? Like, Again, we obviously live privileged lives, but I think this is one of those times where it helps us a bit more with the context of this, of, when I go into my PS4 and I go into the back end to download a game from my library, it's like, what, at 800 titles now? And that's the stuff I've redeemed the code for, not things that I didn't get a code for, or I gave to somebody else, or just weren't my jam kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, think about that. Like, that's more games. If my whole life it was just playing games and not even talking about the games, if it was just to play them, I wouldn't be able to play them.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to play all that. Like, there's got to be something to that argument.
So to you then, what can the PS5 do to become the best PlayStation generation at this point?
Well, right? I think we've already nailed it, right? They're going to do it by default.
Yeah, I mean, do you think so though? Like, do you think we've not hit the point where like as far as like the breadth of library, right? As far as how many games we have on the PS4 and the different types of games, do you think that continues to grow with the PS5? Because I feel like at this point, I mean, it's hard to really make this argument because who knows what happens in the future. But I think we've started to hit this point where we started to level out as far as how many developers can be making games at the same time, and like, when we talk about the variance of the libraries, like I think games will continue to become more cool and different and unique and all this stuff as we continue forward. But like, is there a point where toward the end of the PS5 generation, we look back at the PS4 generation, we're like, all right, yeah, like the PS5 has games that look prettier, but PS4 had X, Y, and Z, right? That still are better than the PS5 games.
It depends on which one of the arguments you want to make, right? I really enjoy this, where I feel like we're forging swords and putting them in this holder, and it's which one do you want to grab for the battle to go do this with? Mm-hmm. Where I think in our argument of like, there being, well, clearly on PlayStation 5, I think there's going to be more games. I think you're going to continue to see this. And I think, again, you're going to see, if you're not talking about 5-star games, we're talking about AA games, we're talking about 4-star games, we're talking about indies. What's really awesome, I think, and something we've been seeing for a while, but if you really want to stop and think about it for a second, we're kind of not paying super close attention to is indie games getting a AA, indie games getting a triple I. I don't know if how much I've talked about that in the show. I was talking about to somebody at Dice about this year, maybe even another show, I forget. But it was like trying to decipher. Well, no, when you say indie, right, you still think of the one person. It's in their spare time. They're making this thing. Maybe it's two people working in a garage. They put out this game. Everybody loves it, right? You think of like a Fez, in my head at least, and I'm old, granted. But then you look at something like what fucking Supergiant's doing, right? You look at something like Housemarque and what they're doing, and like these are people who were making smaller indies and were making smaller projects and have learned and grown up with it. Same thing with like Drinkbox, right? I mean, like who fucking continue to crush it with Guacamelee 2. But like I remember Tales from Space, About a Blob, Tales from Space, Mutant Blobs Attack, like these way simpler games. And we are seeing before our eyes, Cappy, we are seeing the independent developers grow up, and rather than I think it was easy for me personally as probably as a pundit or whatever, analyst or whatever you want to say, watching all this happen, that the idea was, oh, you'll go from it being an indie to being a AA to maybe working on a AAA game, right? When in reality, the AA, AAA, whatever market you want to call it still exists over here, but now there is this indie thing where indie still does mean that it's She Dreams Elsewhere, Davion.
Yeah,
right.
Davion.
It still does mean that, hey, man, I'm making this game all by myself and killing myself doing it, but it looks awesome and it's going to be great, but it's going to keep taking time, right? Or Kyle from Emily's Away, where we were just talking about today on another show. That's still happening here in terms of like, oh yeah, these are the indies you think of in that way. But then suddenly there are double I's, there are triple I's. Rather than worrying about coming over to the A space, they're making their own indie spaces and not having to play by the rules. And I think that market will continue that way. So again, to your point about PlayStation 5, right? When we get to the end of the PlayStation life cycle or 5 life cycle or deeper into it, and it is, as I think with the majority of stuff we talk about for PlayStation 4 this year, standouts, this generation, standouts, tent poles, you're talking about first party stuff. You're talking about exclusives. You're talking about what Sony did, what PlayStation Studios did. I think you're then also talking about all these great indies that were around, all these other experiences that were there. Back to my point of like, obviously the 800 games or whatever it is on my PlayStation 4 aren't all from PlayStation Studios. They're from the other folks. And so PlayStation 5, that'll continue to happen. There are people playing. There are people playing stuff right now, or graduating school right now, or fucking not quitting school and not going to it, or whatever. There's probably somebody in pandemic right now is working on your, ladies and gentlemen, next favorite game. Your favorite game of 2022 is being worked on right now by somebody who never would have fucking done it, but when they were sheltered in place and had nothing else to do, they picked up some C++ or whatever, jumped into Maya or whatever, and so I don't know how to make games, and started doing stuff, right? Like that small indie market will continue to go. You're constantly going to have people coming in and trying it, and then you're going to have people who succeed at it and go to that next level of indie development, go to the next level of indie development. You're going to constantly keep having AAA publishers like 2K looking like, all right, let's start private division. Let's go. Annapurna, right? Devolver, like these people, even Devolver, who like used to be like on the outskirts, were edgy, are like fucking like the premier indie publisher, right?
Yeah. Like they just publish Fall Guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is like the biggest game right now.
And that's the thing, man, where I think that keeps snowballing and makes for a healthy industry, a healthier industry. Yeah. And so, by that definition, I think unless they're like, you joked around about it, unless something else drastically horrible happens and changes or whatever, like, all services say, disco is going to be around forever kind of thing. I'm like, it seems like, yes, the PlayStation 5 should end to be the best one.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the biggest thing I'm excited about when it comes to catalog and what the PS5 is going to be, because, to the point that I think we're both making here is that indie games are going to continue to expand and develop. And at a certain point, like I want to do some sort of retrospect as far as this generation of games, like indie games specifically, to see like, all right, what have indie games been this generation? Because like you talk about how, there's a certain thought that comes to mind when you say indie, but this last generation of indie games, I think, has shown, like, if you draw the line from beginning to end of the generation, like that indie games have expanded in such great ways that have been awesome, right? Like telling I keep calling it telling stories, telling lies. Telling lies versus something like Fall Guys, or these Hellblade, or these different types of indies. I think there are so many ways that can continue to expand into next generation, especially with SSD and how the different technologies evolve.
It's the same thing of like, it's always the technological leaps everything makes. So you figure as the internet gets better, as broadband becomes more available to everyone in the United States, or better internet to everybody in the United States, like suddenly those games are not only possible from the technical level, possible from the profit level, where you are making a game that isn't splintered off and other people can't play or whatever.
Yeah, and we've been talking about a lot in other shows about the Epic versus Apple situation, and as far as like Epic trying to like break down the walls as far as what the Apple 30% split is, and the monopolization of their market and all that stuff. And we talk a lot about what the results of that could be. One of the results of that does, if Epic gets their way, right, does benefit developers in the way that you're talking about as far as the profitability, right? If indie developers and developers period are able to make more money off of their games on these different stores, that then allows for more creative and new kinds of games to get made, because you can take more risks in terms of green lighting, because you don't have to make as much money on every single game, which I think could be a really cool thing if Epic is able to win that fight. I just sent Kevin actually a link to this game that's making the rounds this last week, called Black Myth Wukong.
I saw you tweeting about this or asking about it or something. You wrote about it. I saw some.
So I think Twitter. It was like somebody else was talking about it on I think it might have been Imran or somebody, but this is making the rounds, and it's an indie game coming out of China, studio of like, I want to say like 30 people, but like they outsource it, so I think it's really like 60 or so people that are working on this. But if you like fast forward, Kevin, to gameplay, this game looks incredible. Like, it looks fantastic, and this is a game that is being made by an indie team. And I think, if all things go right, like, this is what next gen looks like in terms of
I mean, like, well,
the different types of games.
Think about it, and I know that they've been bought, but think of Ninja Theory, think of Hellblade, right? Like, again, that was a game that came out of nowhere and punched everybody in the face, and they're like, oh my god, this is an indie team. And again, like, they're third party, but they're independent. They are small. They're doing this thing. Granted, you probably know better than me. Is the development team on this even smaller than that? Like, kind of thing, or and I'm not asking you to speak out of turn, but like, I mean, comparing Ninja Theory to this team.
Ninja Theory as a studio is bigger than this team. But I know Ninja Theory is split between different teams that are working on different things. So I don't know how many people are working on Hellblade specifically.
Yeah, and so that's the thing of like that. I think is the future of games and the future of indie development in a lot of different ways. Is that, guess what? We've incubated, you've done this small thing, people have learned it, and they've also learned how to make it more profitable, to make a team bigger, to go off and make a different kind of game.
Exactly.
More people here. I thought this one was an interesting one. Woggerman wrote into patreon.com/kindoffunnygames and says, moments in games that I can't stop thinking about. Moments that happened that couldn't be done in past generations. Those moments that make you say, wow, I could never have anticipated a game making me feel this way. I thought that was another really interesting way of how do you describe the best PlayStation generation, right? Like, those indelible moments that you think about when you think about games. And again, I think that speaks to nostalgia, but it's powerful.
Yeah, for sure. And like, I when we talk about moments, I think that's where the PS3 generation starts to come to me, because I start to think about games like Portal and Portal 2, and how like that game was such a moment in time, and how that game, like, was such an incredible thing, right? Like, that whole, like, BioShock, Assassin's Creed, like, there are so many games that came out during that generation that I think, really had big moments, because I think the jump from PS2 to PS3, I think, even though the biggest part of that was the HD jump and how like textures got better and all this different stuff, right? Like, I think there was that narrative jump that really took things to the next level as far as creating moments in games that I think speaks loudly during that generation, and has continued to speak loudly through this last generation too.
What I find interesting is you talk about moments, then you wonder what that means, and everybody has a different vision, I think, for it. For me, of course, it was Metal Gear Solid, playing that with Poe on PS1, and just us being blown away by what we were seeing and what was going on. Woggerman put in terms of what generation he would pick. He says, I think if we're talking graphics and interactivity as opposed to the previous generation, then PS2 is the greatest gen. So many of our favorite series started in that gen, and the graphical leap from the PS1 was astounding. If we're talking about storytelling and the quantity of amazing games, then the PS4 has been the best.
Do you think there's a game on this generation that has been as impactful as GTA 3 on PS2? And I know it's kind of like it feels like an impossible question because the question then becomes, how do you become as influential as GTA 3?
Here's the thing about it, where, and I'm trying to check my head as I go, right? Because you don't want to say, I don't want to immediately be torn apart in the comments. Mm-hmm. My knee-jerk reaction would be no. And my answer, my backing that decision up would be the fact that, like, you have to remember, as an old motherfucker and somebody who loved Grand Theft Auto on PlayStation 1, loved Grand Theft Auto 2 on PlayStation 1. I remember opening that EGM, seeing it was like it was on one of the pages up here of, you know, we're here's like 100 and whatever PlayStation 2 games we're talking about, and seeing the, you know, your character in Grand Theft Auto, right, Jacques or whatever, out in the world with the camera like in front of him. They'd swung the camera behind him, and I remember reading the 3 paragraphs over and over again, trying to wrap my head around it, and then talking to my friend Jason about it. Just like, it's an open world sandbox, and it's in the third person perspective. Like,
did you call him Jacques?
I did, yeah.
His name's Claude.
They're starting up here. I knew it was something like that. I knew I was in the ballpark. I knew I was in the ballpark.
Jacques.
As soon as I saw you took it in for a second, and then I saw one of these, and I'm like, fuck, I don't know what it really is, but I know it's close to that. But to think about that game that I had played for hours and hours and hours from this top-down perspective, coming all the way down, but keeping the anarchy, keeping the open world, keeping like the ability to go anywhere kind of thing. It was like, it would be like me telling you on a show tomorrow with a screenshot of like, oh, Blessing can fly, by the way. And I'd be like, well, you know, I was like, I remember being, and then getting it, and it lived up, and it did all that stuff, and it was crazy. And like, you look at that game, right? And yeah, I mean, GTA 3 changed everything. Like, everything became sandbox. Everything became open world. Everything became that third person action, go wherever you want to go. And so has that happened in this generation? No, but it's also hard to say that it hasn't, because again, there's so much noise. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's a very good point.
Is, you know, because if you're going to go that way, then like, like battle royales, like, okay, what Fortnite's battle pass, like there's a bunch of Apex's ping system. Like,
I mean, like Fortnite alone, I think, you know, down the road we're going to be able to point back and make the argument, you know, that Fortnite did so much. I know this is a thing like you bring up a lot, right? And this was a big thing during our 10 out of 10 conversation that we had on Gamescast early this year. But like, Fortnite, between the battle pass, between the different events, between the like even the Marvel crossover that we're seeing, right? Like, the amount of integration and the amount of you know, different things like that is happening in Fortnite, like that's more than we've seen before in video games, right? That is an incredible amount of impact that game is having. And so, to your point, right, you know, looking at the way different games are doing it, you couple Fortnite with, I know this isn't a PlayStation game, but Breath of the Wild, which is a game to me that is going to define how a lot of open world games function going forward. You couple that with, you know, a game like Destiny, right, which is which was kind of the leading charge as far as
though, right?
Games as service. I mean, it came out cross-platform, and so it came out like in 2014 or something like that for both. PS4 and PS3. But yeah, right. Like,
you know, I'm not the biggest Destiny fan, so I don't have all the dates memorized.
But when you couple all these different games and then compare that to something like GTA 3, right? I think that then becomes a bigger argument of, like, it's hard to make it as big of an impact as this one game did for this whole genre, but so many other games are making so many different kinds of impacts on almost as big of levels.
And that's the thing, is I think it's such a different it's almost back to this question of how do you define the impact, where I think Grand Theft Auto changed the kinds of games you played. I think games as a service change how you play certain games, which is very impactful. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, the way Fortnite's monetized and been able to do all this different stuff and introduced battle passes, all that. Like, I would guess that, Fortnite probably is the game you would put on that pedestal to try to fight Grand Theft Auto in terms of most influential, because it has spawned so. But again, it's not. Even though there are a lot of battle royales, and obviously there were battle royales before Fortnite, it's not that I think you're seeing in the way Grand Theft Auto totally redid third-person action-adventure open-world games, right? Or made that up if you want, even sandbox games. Third-person sandbox is what we're calling them back in the day, I guess.
Yeah.
Fortnite hasn't inspired more battle royales, it's inspired more battle passes. It's inspired more ways that your community crosses over with other communities. It's inspired, like, that's what it's doing, and that's such a harder thing to point at and be like, oh, this is as influential as that. Because when you point at Grand Theft Auto, you immediately see all the Grand Theft Auto clones. You see the way even Assassin's Creed looks, you can tie that back to a Grand Theft Auto and how that all changed everything. Whereas, Fortnite's more like how you monetize and how you, you look at like even though I guess it's a battle royale, but you look at Fall Guys compared to Fortnite, and it's like, oh, your battle pass is right there. You know what I mean? Like, I understand how that is.
I mean, there's the argument that Epic was able to make Epic Game Store as great of a thing as it is because of the success of Fortnite, right?
Well, that's not even an argument, right? They said that. They were like very clearly like, we make a lot of money off Fortnite. We don't need to worry about this.
Yeah, you tie that in with the split that they're giving devs on that store. You tie that in with Unreal Engine and how they've been able to improve that because of Fortnite. You tie that in with the crossplay stuff and how crossplay has been a thing, or has been becoming more and more of a regularized. I made that up word. Normalized thing. Normalized thing. Because of Fortnite.
You're right. That's a huge
like
one
Fortnite might
right there.
You could probably make the argument and trace this back again to the Epic versus Apple stuff, right? If Epic wins that battle against Apple, you could probably make the argument that Fortnite is more of an influential game than GTA 3.
Yeah, and see, this is exactly at the core of the argument where I think GTA influenced game design and Fortnite influenced game mechanics.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. And not even like
industry.
Yeah, exactly. That's a way better. Yeah. I don't have the right wording because I'm not smart enough, but GTA influenced game design. Fortnite has influenced the business of games.
Yeah.
But that's a really, really fascinating point. And also there's the other part too of like, clearly we need to get a few more years away from Fortnite to really see. Because I mean, we even talk about it on the show, right? And we've talked about on this show too. This idea that like, everybody takes Fortnite for granted now. You know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, Fortnite. And again, like, I have a refresher course on it, 2 weeks ago or whatever, trying to get getting Poe to play Fortnite with his son and me, where it was like having to explain to him that like, he's like, oh, well, Jack's gonna be on the PlayStation 4, so I can't play. And I'm like, no, dude, whatever screen you have, and this was, it was the day before the fight started, whatever screen you have, you can play Fortnite on for free and play with us. Like, it's not like the old days where we would be locked out if somebody else had, if somebody had a GameCube and we had a PS2 and we couldn't play together or whatever. Like, it's crazy to think about.
Yeah.
I want to give one final one here that I just thought was the funniest. Kebabs wrote in. And again, what defines the best PlayStation generation to you? Kebabs writes, the amount of games I own for it. I'm very selective with the games I buy. I don't get ones unless I know I'm going to love it. So the one with the most games is logically the winner. And it's a very much like, all right, I see what you're saying. Like, I like that. That's how, when we ask you this, like, how would you define it? Where would you go? And like, I think, I don't know much about Kebabs, like how old he is, how many games he was buying as a kid or anything like that. But it's interesting. Like, okay, cool. But Kebabs also votes PlayStation 4. The number of games I have on it aside, it has some of the most significant, amazing games of all time, including Uncharted 4, plus Lost Legacy, The Last of Us Part 1 and 2, God of War, Ratchet, etc. Oh, the actually goes on a lot longer. I just didn't see it. This has been an interesting thought study. Blessing.
Yeah, I've enjoyed this conversation.
Me too. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not over. If you are hearing this later and want to sound off, of course, you can do it in the YouTube comments on youtube.com/kindafunnygames. But feel free to write in patreon.com/kindafunnygames and let us know how you define the best PlayStation generation. Blessing, back to you.
Greg. I want to do the return.
The return of the Mac.
A PS5 Watch. That's such a great song, by the way. I was listening to that song legit last month.
Shut up.
He has the graphic.
Yeah, the graphic. Wow.
I was not expecting the graphic.
I'm sorry, Kevin. We won't do it again. Sorry. It's the return of what, Blessing?
PS5 Watch. Dude, Kevin's on point today. I cannot believe how much Kevin is killing it.
We love you, Kevin. You're doing a great job. Great job with that American Pie stuff.
But yeah, Return of the Mac came up randomly last month, and I added to my Spotify, and I've been listening to it so much. Yeah, it's such a good song. On PlayStation Blog this last week, they put up a post talking about the different ways devs are taking advantage of the Dualsense controller, and we talked about this briefly a little bit earlier, right? Where they had the TV spot where it was the girl doing all the different things.
It was that girl doing the things in her house, doing
the things in her house. using the bow and arrow and doing all the different things. Along with that, in that same blog post, they essentially have a bunch of different quotes from a bunch of different devs that are working on their high profile PS5 games, talk about how they're taking advantage of the Dualsense. And I thought this was pretty fascinating. So I pulled a few of the quotes. I'm not going to talk about all of them because there's a lot in there, and I highly recommend people go to the PS blog to check out the full post because they go into detail for a lot of them. But I pulled out specific ones that I think are pretty cool and pretty interesting. And so I'm going to start with this one from Brian Horton, who's the creative director of Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales, who says, quote, "The haptic feedback precision allows us to do all sorts of new things. In Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales, we'll be hinting to players which direction attacks are coming from by providing haptic feedback from the appropriate direction on the DualSense wireless controller. What does it feel like to use Miles' stealth ability? How does the Venom Blast feel? Because of the high resolution of DualSense wireless controller's haptic feedback system, we can really push the dimensionality of the feedback. For instance, as you hold down square to do a Venom punch, you feel Spider-Man's bioelectricity crackle across the left side of the controller, culminating in the right side on impact," end quote. Which is some pretty cool stuff. Craig, I didn't even ask you, did you check out this blog at all?
Yeah.
Cool. I was like,
sorry, I didn't mean to close the door on the conversation. Yes, I read it. It was cool. I'm excited to hear more.
As I was going through, I was like, oh yeah, I've not actually talked to Greg about this blog specifically, so I don't even know if Greg has seen it or not.
Cool.
There's also this one from Dinga Bakaba, the game director of Deathloop. It says, quote, "I'm really excited by the adaptive triggers and the haptic feedback, both features that will bring some physicality in game experiences and give important feedback. Deathloop, being a first-person shooter, we do a lot of things to make weapons feel differently from one another. One I like is blocking the triggers when your weapon jams to give the player an immediate feedback even before the animation plays out, which prompts the player in a physical way that they have to unjam their gun," end quote. There's also another one from Gavin Moore, the creative director at SIE Japan Studio, and they're talking about Demon Souls. They said, quote, "Metal strikes metal when your foes block your attacks or you block theirs. That extra sensory feedback through the controller allows you to know your attack hit home and your perfectly timed parry was a success, so you can react faster and more decisively. We can also turn the simple act of pulling a lever to open a gate into a sensory experience. This is something that Rumble could never do. It could never replicate the feeling of metal striking metal or fire crackling in your hand as you conjure magic," end quote. One more I'm going to pull from Marcus Smith, the creative director at Insomniac Games. He says this, quote, "The adaptive triggers are something we're excited to feature in Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. For instance, the Enforcer is a dual-barreled shotgun type weapon. As you pull the trigger, you'll fire from one barrel, and you can feel resistance around halfway down the trigger. Need a bigger blast? Pull the trigger through that resistance point, and you'll fire both barrels at the same time," end quote. Greg, we've been talking a lot about bow and arrows when it comes to the DualSense and how the functionality is going to work. How does
also,
all
when
this
you drive through gravel or mud, you'll feel the difference in the rocks and the slippery slides
in the triggers?
This is, I mean, yeah, as much as we've given them, it's mainly me just being annoyed with hearing the same fucking examples all the time. These are way more concrete and sound way more exciting, personally. Obviously, when you're talking about a haptic feedback and what the controller can do without having games to talk about, you have to be general and you have to talk about tires and you have to talk about bow and arrows. This stuff gets interesting, and it's back to the Eric Lempel article from gamesindustry.biz, right? Of like, yeah, we got to do this in a completely different way and not the way we want. Because it is that, electricity arcing across the controller from the left side to the right side is Miles. It's like, man, that sounds like that could be really cool or really fucking annoying. You know what I mean? Like, it's the same thing of like, we were talking about Avengers earlier and how they just put out a patch for this third weekend beta that is now passed for you. And one of the things is like finally on console, you can turn down motion blur and camera shake and stuff. And it's like, on paper, having the camera shake in a battle sounds really cool. In reality, it shakes too much. You think it's annoying. So it's like, how do you walk that fine line with something? And I'd love to hold the controller and play these games. And I know, for the record, PlayStation and all these developers would probably love for me to hold the controller and play all these games. It sounds neat. It sounds cool. I'm sure it's stuff you can, dial up or dial down probably to save battery, you'd hope, or if it's just annoying or for accessibility. So maybe it's probably a moot point to really worry about it being annoying, but it sounds cool. It sounds immersive is always such a weird thing, right? Because the games where I've totally lost sense that I'm playing a game are few and far between, and most of the time are in VR. So will it add to my gameplay experience here? Will it make the games feel more alive? I'm down to try. What did you think?
I mean, I think a lot of this sounds cool. I'm kind of with you in the sense that a lot of this will have to come down to when we actually get our hands on the controller and see how this feels in reality. Because a lot of this reminds me of HD Rumble with the Nintendo Switch and the Joy-Cons. Of I remember leading up to the release of that console, and HD Rumble being like one of the big talking points. But like, when the thing actually comes out, like it's a cool gimmick, but I don't know if HD Rumble really changes the experience on my Nintendo Switch that much for it to be like a thing to really fixate on.
It was always that thing. HD Rumble was, I mean, it sounds lame, but was cool in 1-2 Switch, right? Where it was like, how many things are in here and stuff. That was really cool. But then on a day-to-day game or a day-to-day basis, how many games are making use of that? That's the other thing, right? Like,
exactly.
I've played a lot of Animal Crossing, not as much as some Joey Noels, but like, does the HD Rumble on my Joy-Cons in Animal Crossing, is it telling me stuff I don't know? That's the other thing of like, which I thought was interesting about the greatest console generation thing, right? Is like, we didn't talk about UI and features and shit like that, because I think anything that's brand new at launch becomes so normal within a few months of any of these boxes, right? And even updates where it's like, when we went and did Peace Walker, when we restarted PS I Love You earlier this year and played through Peace Walker again on PS3, going back to the PS3 was like, oh my God, how did I ever use this thing before? But you didn't know any better. And in the same way here of like, is this stuff that sounds really cool, and 6 months in, I'm not even going to think about it. And then not only in 6 months in, are third parties using this, or is this just first party stuff, which is fine, but like, where does it stand on the actual thing?
That's kind of where my mind goes when I read the thing about Ratchet and Clank, as far as the Enforcer being a dual barreled shotgun, and if you pull the trigger part way through, like, you feel the resistance, and that'll do a regular shot. But if you pull through, you then do the double shot. Like, that sounds really cool. To your point, like, how much do third parties use that? That reminds me of the PS2 analog buttons, where I think the only game I can recall that ever used that was Metal Gear Solid 3, where if you click the square button, that is your aim, or if you click halfway through the square button, that is your aim in Metal Gear Solid 3, and then if you hold in and then let go, that will do a shot in Metal Gear Solid 3. That was the only game that really used that functionality that I played and remembered. I'm sure there might be a couple other games that use that stuff, but it kind of reminds me of that a bit, though. Like, the way they talk about it, that sounds really cool. I can't wait to see how that works in Ratchet and Clank. And like, I mean, the way they're talking about all these different things, right, could in theory be really cool and really awesome. But it's one of those things where I'm trying not to get too hyped up about it until I actually feel it and know how it works.
Yeah, 100%. Until we have it in our hands, like, it's just talk. And it's not that I think they're lying. It's just like, how can you have an opinion about how something feels till you really feel it?
Exactly. Greg, I want to talk to you about some of my PlayStation picks for this week. Of course, this is where we highlight some of the cool looking games coming to PSN this week. Usually, I've done historically like 2 to 3 games. There are a lot of games I have on this list, and by a lot I mean like 6, because it's a pretty decent release week. It looks like, even though there's not like the big game coming out, like we don't have a Watch Dogs or a Cyberpunk, but we do have quite a few cool looking smaller games like No Straight Roads, which is coming out on Tuesday, August 25th. This is a description from the game's website. Lead the musical revolution in No Straight Roads, a rockin' action adventure. Explore Vinyl City and fight musical megastars on your journey to defeat oppressive EDM empire NSR, and experience an action-packed adventure that mashes together rhythm-infused third-person combat with a kick-ass soundtrack. This is actually a game I previewed at PAX West 2019. Yeah. Actually a pretty cool game. Like, I can't wait to see how the final thing comes out. And during my preview, like, very much a pure pre-release experience of, like, it didn't have all the bells and whistles there. But the idea and the concept there, I think, is really exciting, as far as it being not really a rhythm game, but somewhat of a rhythm game. Like, you don't have to play on beat in the game, but enemies will launch their attacks to the beat of the music that is playing. And so, like, if you have rhythm, that'll then allow you to dodge attacks better and be better at the game, essentially. And the whole idea of it is like this battle between rock and EDM, and like they talk about in this description, the EDM empire of NSR. Like, you are, and I think you are like the rock people, and so you're kind of fighting back, similar to that the Trolls movie. I don't know if that movie ever came out. I don't know if you saw the trailer for it. Trolls World Tour.
It did.
Yeah, that came out.
It did come out.
It did come. Okay, I never watched it. Even I was very excited about it. But
it was very popular with children, to the point where they movie theaters and Universal's got into a fight. AMC, but they have since reconciled. So don't worry. We are in fact going to get to watch Fast and the Furious in Dolby.
Oh, was it Trolls World Tour? Was that the one where they were like, "Oh, we've seen so much success with streaming that we're gonna start streaming all of our movies"?
They did that. That is the one. Bless.
Okay. Wow, Trolls World Tour is the thing that kicked it off.
Yeah.
No straight roads. You're talking about?
What?
Or Trolls World Tour?
No straight roads. I'm saying this. The styles here. Although I'm not a big fan of DreamWorks movies because usually their stories poo, you know what I mean? But their big jumps in animation and texture is always impressive. The hair on these trolls really they're made out of like a felt material, and the fibers are very impressive. Yes, Greg.
Are these trolls the trolls that are the troll dolls, or are they separate trolls?
Yeah, they're the troll dolls. Yeah. Similar to when the they came out, the How to Train Your Dragon, the scales and reptile skin is very impressive. Check it out next time.
What are you or Paula cooking up back there?
Yeah, I heard the ding.
I don't know what. Paula, what are you making?
I made a peanut butter brownie thing.
Okay, there you go. Peanut butter brownie.
Peanut butter brownie.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
She seemed somewhat concerned as she was answering it. Like, who wants to know?
Why is this?
I'm certain that she was concerned.
Another PlayStation pick for you. Descenders. This game is coming out Tuesday, August 25th. The game description says this: Descenders is an extreme downhill free riding for the modern era, with procedurally generated worlds and where mistakes have real consequences. I read that verbatim. I think is that extreme. Yeah.
So it looks like this isn't related at all to the comic. That's disappointing.
Thank you.
No, it's not.
When I was like Descenders and this popped up and it's a mountain bike game, I was like, this is not what I was expecting. But I'm like, what was I expecting? I was like, I know I have a reason not to think.
Is the comic Descendants?
No.
It probably is a comic Descendants, but we're talking about Descenders.
Because as I was Googling this game, because for all these games, I kind of do like a little bit of research to see what they are. Like,
look at that. That looks cool. All right.
Yeah, like, no, this game has some cool stuff going for it. Polygon wrote about it in their PC review because this game came out on PC before. They gave it a 7, but they said this: Descenders takes a valiant stab at integrating the fast-paced, stunt-focused gameplay of downhill sports with the procedural generation of modern games. Unfortunately, this combination robs the genre of one of its strongest attributes, handcrafted level design that players can dive into and learn from. This is balanced by tight controls and a slick presentation that keeps you from ever getting too angry at it. Just make sure not to wipe out too hard. So cool. I also got for you Vader Immortal, which is out Tuesday, August 25th.
Lord Vader.
Of course, Vader Immortal, a Star Wars VR series, is a cinematic interactive experience that lets you step inside a galaxy far, far away into the role of a smuggler operating near Mustafar, the fiery planet that Darth Vader calls home. You'll find yourself in a grand adventure where you can hone your lightsaber skills, navigate dangers, and come face to face with Vader himself. Kevin, did you play this one? I forget who played this one.
I did not. Greg Miller played the first episode.
Exactly.
He has not played. Greg, I'm not done. He has not played the second and third episode.
Gotcha. Greg, are you picking this up on PSVR?
That's correct. Yeah, of course. Trophies. Come on.
Nice. They're actually.
I don't think I've talked about it in the show too, because I bitch all the time about PlayStation VR and having to set it up and disconnect my box and do all that stuff. I finally had a moment.
Oh,
did I talk about this? Did I talk about this in the show or last?
I forget it somewhere. Show? We all heard it.
You said it somewhere, but you can say it.
I set up the second PS4 that has a drop right now for VR, so I'm ready to go anytime there. I'm done.
I told you, why didn't you just set up some sort of switcher and then just switch where the input signal is outputting to? It would have been really simple.
I don't follow.
So you have an HDMI cable from the PS4 Pro going into a switcher. You can set it to go to, let's say, A and B, right? A is just your TV. It pushes through the full HDR, no problem. And then
number two
goes to the PSVR box.
You gotta order off. You have the order of operations out of order.
What?
Because it's the box. Oh no,
you're not. I know what I'm talking about. And then you have that going from there into your TV, okay? Into input 2, let's say, okay?
Yeah. But I don't even. I mean, look how cool it looks. You can't even see. There's the Death Stranding PS4 is right there, and then you got the Spider-Man PS4 right there, and then you got the Xbox over there.
I don't like all the colors, if I'm being honest. I would prefer.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I want a black
Tim Gettys
PS5.
Has the white and the black, the white Xbox, right? He's got the all white. They're behind.
Yeah.
They're in the console box or his console.
Yeah, his entertainment
console. That's there. But if they were open, everything would look beautiful and uniformed.
Another one for you, Hypnospace Outlaw, that is out Thursday, August 27th. Hypnospace Outlaw is a 90s internet simulator in which you scour Hypnospace's wide variety of weird and wonderful websites to hunt down wrongdoers, while also keeping an eye on your inbox, avoiding viruses and adware, and downloading a plethora of apps that may or may not be useful. Polygon reviewed this game when it came to PC. I think that was last year, and they recommended it, saying that Hypnospace Outlaw is one of those games that deserves not merely to be played, but also to be treated as an opportunity to think about our digital lives now and then. It's a perplexing, clever piece of work. As they might have said back in the 90s, it's totally dope. This is one I'm actually interested
first off, I call things dope right now, so that's not a 90s thing, probably.
I also call things dope. So,
right,
but this is one that I'm actually interested in. I don't know if I'm going to have the time to play it, but I want to try because ever since I saw it at the Nintendo Indie World thing, like, I didn't know. I'd heard the name Hypnospace Outlaw, and I think I heard people talk about it because I think it came out to like good reviews and stuff. But I never put two and two together that this is basically a game where you're just surfing the internet, which gives me Emily is away totally. Vibes.
But it's one of those rare games where I feel like I might rather play it on PC if it's about me using a PC.
But what about them trophies?
Yeah, and that's what gets me back to the PlayStation 4. Good call.
Yeah. Another one, Windbound, that's out Friday, August 28th, 2020. Shipwrecked alone on an uncharted island, explore, adapt, and navigate the land in perilous seas to stay alive. As Kara, you are a warrior caught at sea in a fierce storm, adrift from your tribe. Thrown from your boat at the mercy of the turbulent waters, you are tossed onto the shores of the Forbidden Islands, a mysterious paradise. This is one that I'm also very fascinated with, that I would love to play, but I don't know how much time I'm going to have to play games next week because there's so many things to play. That said, I really love the style of this one. Like, it gives me some cool. Breath of the Wild vibes.
Did her hair change
Kevin, can you fast forward a bit to the gameplay?
No, I'm going to actually rewind.
Or if there is play?
Thank you, Kevin.
Is it me or is her hair change colors? Will you see that shit?
It was black there.
Yeah, and now let's fast
forward. I mean, there's
gameplay.
lightning strikes, there's stuff, you're underwater, and now it's white. I thought it was white when I saw it.
Oh, maybe I didn't give you a gameplay trailer.
No, you did. Later on,
this looks like gameplay.
Here you go.
No?
Yeah, this
looks exactly like Breath of the Wild. Yeah.
But yeah, this looks so much like Breath of the Wild, which makes me want to try
it. I feel like this might be fun. But let's once again just take a moment to examine her hair.
White. Okay, so it's white here.
White.
And let's jump to
You think that's like... Now, do you think this was a situation where...
She's dead. She died.
She's out in the dark. Like, you know what I mean? Look at
that's not how white hair works. Even in the dark.
You don't know, dude. You don't have white hair.
First of all,
it could be one of two things.
Greg,
it could be a situation where she's
Blessing.
Kevin,
I need the chair right now. Okay. Mm-hmm. Greg, what's going on right next to her bun up there up top?
She has more hair.
What's going on next to the bun? Right underneath, right to the right. That's the moon. Okay, you're getting lighting from the moon.
Right to the right
of the bun.
Oh, you mean the light on her head? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's the moon. Okay, and if you have white hair, what's gonna happen there? I rest my case.
You're not gonna have the reflection.
But I mean, look how dark it is.
He's trolling you, Kevin. Don't let him get to you.
It's he knows moonlight hitting dark hair. It's like Andy right there. Okay.
You can't fight the moonlight. That was a song from Coyote Ugly.
It could be. There could be an arc in the game where she's like, "Fuck it, I'm going white hair," or it could be a spirit situation where there's something supernatural going on, and a spirit inhabits her, and all of a sudden, boom, white hair.
I don't think that you land in a island, and you're just like, you know what I'm gonna do? Bleach my
hair. Dye my hair. Maybe she gets so scared though, her hair goes all white.
Like that one kid from It, remember?
Oh, I was gonna say Crash Test Dummies.
Next one here.
There was this kid who got into it. I'm getting to the part with there and couldn't go to school, and when he finally came back, His hair had gone from black to bright white. I forgot that. I'm pretty sure I nailed that. I'm pretty sure I landed the plane there. I'm pretty sure.
No, those are the exact lyrics, which is wild. I didn't know you
couldn't quite explain it.
Wait, I'm sorry, Blessing. What did you just say? You didn't know what?
That he could retain lyrics that well. I was gonna say that he had retention or something.
Yeah, so you weren't a real fan then, right? I mean, like that. I feel like that's one of his most well-known traits.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where
I think cool. I
did remember. This was a game. This was a Game Over Great thing from back in the day.
It's fine. It's not a big deal. We thought you were a fan. Clearly, you weren't. It's not a big deal. It's fine.
Listen, Giant Bomb puts out so many podcasts, and I always put them above the kind of funny ones because Jeff Grossman is really well spoken, knows what he's talking about, and so I apologize. I couldn't listen to every single Game Over Great show that came out.
Bless, I gotta be honest. I have worked here for a long time. I feel like I've gone to Giant Bomb parties. I don't know what they are.
That was good, Kevin. That was good. All right.
I really thought you were gonna be like, I don't know who Jeff Grossman is.
Gone to Giant Bomb parties. I don't know what they are.
I don't know what Giant Bomb is. Wasteland 3 is out Friday, August 28th. Wasteland 3 is a post-apocalyptic RPG from In Exile Entertainment featuring challenging tactical combat, hours of exploration, and a deep reactor story full of twists, turns, and brutal ethical decisions. Play in single player or co-op as you customize your squad with perks and abilities geared to your playstyle, and customize your vehicle, the Kodiak, turning it into a hardened war beast. Saving Colorado isn't going to be easy, but Arizona is counting on you, so don't screw it up.
Wait, what? Saving Colorado isn't going to be easy, but Arizona is counting on you? There's too many states involved in this.
That I didn't catch that until you mentioned it, but yeah, that makes it seem like Colorado is in Arizona, but those are definitely two different states.
Yep, yeah. Like I wouldn't be surprised if the next line is "Stop California from Nevada's takeover."
Hold on, I want to decipher this. Saving California isn't going to be easy, but Arizona is counting on you. Did you try to save Colorado in the last game, and then you didn't, but now you're going to save Arizona, or what? I don't know what's going on, but there you go. Wasteland 3 is happening.
Okay, so here we are in the Wasteland Wiki. Colorado was the state of the Colorado was the state of the United States of America that was bombed during the nuclear war. As a result of the nuclear bombing, the climate of the region changed to that of like a tundra. Due to the Hoover Dam being hit by a nuclear bomb, the Colorado River was heavily irradiated. The eastern plains were, however, warmer as compared to the mountainous areas. Sometime after the war, Saul Buchanan, a member of the survivalistic 100 families, acquired control of the state, transforming it into his personal nation. His children, however, rebelled as he grew older, leading to the patriarch contacting the Desert Rangers to help, promising them Colorado itself as a base in return. Colorado Springs is the capital of the patriarch's empire.
None of this has to do with Arizona.
Being the largest city in America being the largest city in the American state before the war. Yeah, I don't know about Arizona though.
I tuned out very early on. Greg, you added one here. The suicide of Rachel Foster. What's that about?
Well, Blessing, I'm glad you asked. The suicide of Rachel Foster, press release reads like this. The suicide of Rachel Foster is an intense first-person investigation where melancholy and nostalgia meld into a thrilling ghost tale. This is a truly immersive gameplay experience that has a multi-layered narrative, an ending influenced by player choice, and binaural audio to keep anyone on the edge of their seats. What is binaural audio?
Binaural audio is essentially like an audio technique for like when you're wearing headphones. It essentially allows sound to feed in different cool dynamic ways.
I don't know anything about it. It has a 7 out of 10 on Steam right now, but it sounded like my jam. Narrative ghost story kind of thing. What's going on? Try to figure out what's going on with this Rachel Foster woman. I'm in.
You can try it out.
It kind of, I am. It looks like the setup to it kind of looks like the Overlook Hotel, The Shining.
Greg, this looks scary.
It does look scary, Kev.
I don't know. You don't need to be scared. You know what I mean? Just like enjoy the happiness in life.
Sure.
Also, I gotta go for it, Kevin.
Oh, it was unrelated. I think I ate too much chocolate ice cream. I'm not feeling great.
Thanks for that update, Kevin. I got a couple of PlayStation updates for you to wrap out or to round out the I wanted to call this the roper part, the X's and O's. We have a couple of possible shakeups for the PS5 launch lineup. Deathloop has been delayed to 2021, and they announced this on Twitter during the week. And then to follow up with that, Demon Souls has been rated in Korea, sparking rumors that maybe, possibly, potentially, Demon Souls could come out toward that launch window, which could be exciting. Greg, does this do anything for you in the PlayStation 5 launch?
I hope it happens. It doesn't do anything for me, really, as somebody who still hasn't, given Bloodborne the college try and has never connected with a Souls game to begin with. I would like it to happen because I think that'd be a really cool thing. But you and I have talked about it both on camera and off, right? Of like, is that too much? Do they need to do that? I mean, with Xbox not having Halo at launch, if you're even thinking of it, and I think PlayStation's thinking of it more as a fight, more of a 12-round thing.
Yeah.
If you have Miles Morales, right? Do you really need to worry about it? Do you need to have 2 bombs drop? Even though I do think they go to different audiences, I do think they would. I think Demon Souls would definitely draw in a different audience than Spider-Man.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you want it? Do you need it?
I don't need it. No, I mean, I maintain that, right? What you said, that I don't know if they need 2 big first party games at launch. I would rather have that drip feed over the course of the year and have it be so that in November it is Spider-Man Miles Morales, maybe early next year we see Demon Souls or however that stuff shakes out, right? Demon Souls, Ratchet, Horizon Zero Dawn throughout the year. I think that can make for a strong 2021. And so I don't necessarily need it at launch. That said, with Deathloop, in the context of Deathloop being pushed to 2021, like that is now in their cards for a quote unquote like PlayStation exclusive, even though Deathloop is probably going to come to other platforms later down the line. Sure. I could see, I know development doesn't work this way, but if somehow Demon Souls did make launch, right, like that then fills that gap. But who knows where they're at in that game, if it was always planned as a launch thing, or if they're totally so that they're able to come through and fill out that gap that Deathloop has made. Even though I don't think Deathloop was going to be the big factor in terms of what the launch lineup was. But I
feel like Deathloop actually getting delayed helps it out for some reason, where I think that's a game that I think you could use more people getting hyped for. And if you can space that out into 2021, and obviously who knows when you're going to do, they say Q2, but that could slip and do a bunch of different stuff. You figure that first half of that year, if they can hit that, it's, who knows, but it could be quiet. It could seem like a good place to launch that. I always like that January timeframe, that January, February thing, but you imagine you'll get a Resident Evil in there this year or next year, you know what I mean? And then Resident Evil.
Last PlayStation update I have for you. Iron Man VR has received a major patch this last week. That patch includes new game plus, new weapons, new armors, and quality of life improvements like faster load times.
That's what I'm fucking talking about, Bless. That's what I'm fucking talking about. I've been wanting to go back and platinum Iron Man VR for a while, but obviously there's been a million other things to play. And on top of that it was the lazy factor of not only, I got to fucking disconnect my thing to, I got to lose my HDR, put it back in, do all that jazz, the pass through. But the new system takes care of that. Then it was still the lazy of like, there's going to be a lot of load times. Being able to skip cutscenes you've already seen. There's a couple story missions you can skip and then get faster load times. I'm actually really excited to crank it back up and see what's up.
Quick question, Greg. Had you noticed a difference between the Pro and the regular PlayStation 4 with the PSVR? Because if I'm remembering correctly, doesn't the PS4 Pro process a little bit smoother when it comes to VR?
Correct. That's correct. Yeah.
Have you noticed the difference? Have you played?
No. I have not noticed the difference. Now, granted, I've been using the Pro at home for forever now.
Sure.
I think I still play. No, I play on a Pro. Yeah, I guess I don't play actively on a PS4 anymore. I only use PS4 Pros. You know what I mean?
You're so cool.
Because that's kind of, I am a pro, as they say.
Yeah, you are. You're the PS4 Pro. You know what I mean?
The PS4 Pro, whatever that means. Yeah.
Let me tell you, now that I'm moving to my new place, we're gonna get a 4K TV, and that means that I could have a reason to get a PS4 Pro, even though PS5 is around the corner.
I was gonna say, you're moving. What, are you gonna have to wait a couple months? You're done.
Yeah, that's a good point. But I'm really excited.
I offered you my backup PS4 Pro, but now I'm using it like a king here. I have my PSVR set up to it.
But here's the thing, guys. Do we not have a PS4 Pro in the office?
I don't think we do.
Connected to the original studio setup?
No, you need that. The one that's at the studio.
The one that we use to stream.
Yeah, the one that we need to stream needs to be there in case we need it. Now, the better question would be, don't I have a PlayStation 4 Pro at my desk at the studio? Don't I have the PS4 Pro at my desk in the studio?
Yeah, but
the answer is I do, but I need that to be a backup for the studio one in case the studio one ever breaks.
Okay.
Wait, what?
So, sorry.
We're never going to go back to the studio.
I wish we could help you. Bless, but they need to be there.
We're
never going to go back, Kevin. Right now, Shuhei Yoshida calls us up and says, I need you guys to stream Patapon 3. We just accidentally published it. Can you do it? I'll only let you stream it from the studio. Can you go to the studio? You want me to be on the phone to Shuhei and be like, I'm sorry, I would love to do that, but both the one in the studio, the PlayStation 4 in the studio, and the one in my office are now in Blessing's house. That's what you want me to tell him.
Kevin, are we going to acknowledge the fact that this man is hogging like at least 4 PS4s?
You say the word, and I'll remove him from this call.
There are 2 PS4s in his living room. Or in his, not his living room, but in his place.
Yeah, right.
No, that's my living room.
That's
2 PS4s right there. Yeah, you're right. Oh now, again, I should be clear. That's 2 PS4 Pros there. I have my engraved PS4 underneath the couch, and then the 20th anniversary PlayStation 4
the
in the
most
other room.
Beautiful PS4.
I have one base PlayStation 4 that I'm working off of.
Should have come here and worked earlier. You know what I mean? You could have come here a long time ago and worked for free, and then we could have started paying you this year, and then you could have had some free stuff.
Also, we would have. I believe we offered to buy you a PlayStation 4 Pro when you got here, and you're like, "No, I'm good."
And we need to put this out there just so it's all spoken.
Wait, no, hold on a second. Hold on. Do you not have a PS4 Pro on your desk?
Me?
Yeah, at work.
That's a base PS4.
Oh,
yeah.
And just so we're clear, just so we're all on the same page, when the PlayStation 5 ships, before we worry about getting you one for the office, we need to make sure there's one in the studio, there's one at my desk, there's 2 at my house. Then we can start worrying about how you're
getting. Can I call first dibs on the 5th one?
I got a review.
I called first dibs.
I
got first dibs.
Ladies and gentlemen, before we get any further with the show, let's hear a word from our sponsor. This episode of PS I Love You XOXO is brought to you by youtube.com/kindafunnygames. That's right, motherfucker. I know who you are. You're driving around right now. Maybe you're on a run. You jogging? How you breathing? You have that runner's high? You sicken me. Anyways, I know a lot of you listen to this show as a podcast while you drive a van full of nuns around. So I just wanted to say, hey, we have a YouTube channel, youtube.com/kindafunnygames. And if you could go over there, and maybe you don't even want to watch the podcast, that's fine. But we put up all sorts of other stuff, like, first impression videos, which is also a podcast, but I think it's better as a video. We put up Let's Plays, like I was talking about the Fall Guys one that's up there. There's an XCast. All the podcasts you know and love from Kind of Funny are over there, but like live reactions don't go anywhere. So if you want to see us live react to Gamescom and you're not going to watch it live on Twitch, why not go to youtube.com/kindafunnygames? And you might say, oh, I'll go check it out. Well, subscribe while you're there. And you're like, oh, I don't use YouTube. I don't give a shit. Like, you have a Gmail, I'm sure. Which means you have a username for YouTube. Just fucking subscribe. Click the little subscribe button. Watch the videos. You know what I mean? You go to the Apple store. What are you going to do on all those computers? You're going to put youtube.com/kindafunnygames on. It's very simple. You're going to go, oh, guess what? Hey, son, can you come over? It's me, Ma. I got the spywares on my computer. You go over there, you move the spywares, and you fucking make her subscribe to youtube.com/kindafunnygames. It's easy. This is simple stuff, folks. It's a one button, one click. You let me, hey, little Timmy. Little Timmy's got an iPad over there for some fucking Fortnite. Guess what? He's got a YouTube account. Get in there and fucking do it. You hit the video button. You know what I mean? Right now, I know you're riding your bike. You got the 2 kids in the back, the dog in the front, the dog in the basket. Kids are in that thing that the parents put their kids in, then they ride around. When you get home, you're going to have a nice big old juice. You have a nice apple juice, all right? Then I want you to fucking click on the toaster, turn on the screen that's on the toaster, and fucking subscribe. youtube.com/kindafunnygames. It's easy. Blessing, what you been playing?
Ooh, man, I've been playing a lot. I've been playing Samurai Jack Battle Through Time. And I'm not as far in that game as I want to be. I've been trying to do a level a day, and I've already messed that up.
This very basic thing you want to do, you can't do.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, I've made it a couple of levels in. I also previewed the game with Barrett for a bit on youtube.com/kindafunnygames. You want to check out that first impressions. And man, that game is pretty cool. Like, I really appreciate that game. It seems like a very.
Are you a Samurai Jack fan?
Oh yeah, I love the cartoon. I still haven't seen that last season because if you follow Samurai Jack, right? Samurai Jack came out when I was a kid. I don't know the years, 2001 probably. Came out on Cartoon Network. They did the original run, and I don't think it ever had a proper ending. And so recently, when I say recently, I mean like within the last probably like 6 years, 7 years, they finally ended it with a season on Adult Swim. So I never watched that season. And it's made playing this game interesting because this game is piggybacking off of that last season.
Okay.
And so I'm missing some context for like where the game starts. That said, like the game doesn't necessarily dwell in that stuff. Like they touch on that stuff in the beginning, and they use that as a bouncing off point. But then they get into okay, no, the game takes place in this time between times or whatever. Like as far as where it's at in the timeline, like they were basically just like, fuck it, who knows? You're everywhere and you're nowhere at the same time in terms of how the time works. And so you're meeting characters from across Samurai Jack, right? You're meeting the characters that you love. You're meeting the Scotsman, the Samurai, like all these different characters you know and love, along with characters from the latest season. It's fun. Like it very much it. I keep wanting to compare it to a PS2 game and not as like an insult, but it has kind of the spirit of a PS2 game when you think of those kinds of licensed games, right? Like when you think of something
what I
like
got as a vibe, yeah.
Yeah,
watching you guys playing it, and then like I was the guy who set it up, so they sent me the build, so I played through like the first level that was available in the build, and I was like, first off, fuck, this is fun, and I want to play this, and I got a code. But then it was that idea of like, this feels like, and it's not meant to be an insult, it feels like a good PS2 licensed game where it was like, oh, this is enjoyable, and it's not like I'm gonna get like a super deep experience out of it, but it was fun, and it kind of felt like Ghost of Tsushima Light, right, or like a kid's version of that.
Yeah, and it has a lock on, you know, which
here we go.
Goes
here we go.
But yeah, like it feels like it has that spirit of a PS2 game in terms of like when you think of Simpsons Hit and Run or SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom or these different licensed games that we don't necessarily see today on PS4. It seems of that ilk, but yeah, it does play well. It is fun. I like the fighting. I like all that stuff. Like it's not necessarily the best game that's come out this year, but it's a fun distraction and a fun game to kind of fuck around in and do my thing. And I like there's a specific mechanic I like where the more your health goes down, the more your clothes kind of degrade until like
sexy.
Yeah, until Jack is like shirtless and his beard is down.
Dope.
Yeah, or not his beard, his hair.
Right. I was gonna say I don't know much about Samurai Jack, but I don't remember him having the beard.
I think he had a beard in the latest season.
But Grizzly Adams did have a beard shooter.
Yeah, but like he doesn't get hurt and then grow a beard. I don't think that happens. But yeah, fun game. Really enjoying it. Playing Apex Legends Season 6, which just came out. It's pretty fun. That the last update comes with a few big changes for Apex in terms of how some of the core mechanics work. And so now Apex has like a shield system like some other battle royales do, right? Where you have your health and then you have your shields that you fill. Now every shield is an Evo shield, which means that the more damage you inflict on enemies, that the more your shield builds up in terms of like what the max capacity can be, which is a new thing. Like the fact that they're making that the default thing, that's a new thing. That's really cool and really incentivizes being more aggressive, which I really dig. There's that they've now added crafting, which is
you love crafting.
Usually I don't like crafting, but the way they have it going here, I think is fine, right? Where they I can't remember the exact word for them, but you're essentially collecting these materials that are on the map, and then you go to these crafting stations, and then you input the materials, and you can choose what items you want that are in the crafting station. And a lot of those items rotate daily and weekly, and then there are other items that are just part of the crafting station that are going to be there forever. And so like that's a cool thing. It changes up how you play from day to day and week to week, which is pretty cool. And so I welcome it. And then there's also the new character named Rampart, who I only played a couple matches with her. Her whole thing is that one, she has an active ability where she puts out this shield barrier thing that you can shoot through. And it'll make your attacks stronger while also kind of protecting you from opposition fire. It's similar to in Overwatch, there's a character, Baptiste, whose ultimate is kind of the same thing, where he puts out this barrier that if you shoot through, it makes your attacks more powerful. That's essentially Rampart's thing here. I like it. Pretty cool. I like when other people on my team use Rampart, because another thing with her is that I believe she has like unlimited ammo for LMGs. I might need a correction on that, but that's what somebody who I was playing with is telling me. Which then
Greg, that's light machine guns.
I thought it was like large machine guns. Is it light machine guns?
It is light machine guns.
Interesting. I guess a machine gun technically is like a heavy thing, right, Kevin? And so like a light machine gun would be like a heavier gun, but it is still like
it's a light version of that.
Okay. That's why in my mind I was like large machine gun, because they're bigger than like pistols or whatever, but they're, you know what I mean.
I brought it up for you.
So damn, Kevin.
You don't question me.
Hey, man.
No, I mean I believe you, you know. I believe you. That actually makes a lot of sense. But yeah, like she's incentivized to use specific guns, which I don't like for myself. But if my other teammates want to use her, like there are benefits that are good for the whole team. She also has like an ultimate that is an actual machine gun that she calls Sheila, which is pretty powerful. That's cool. I've seen people be devastated by that. And so shout out to her. Overall, I've enjoyed Apex Legends Season 6 so far.
Blessing. I brought up a picture of a regular machine gun just so that you can understand what we're talking about. I mean, it's very large.
Yes.
You see?
Yes.
You see?
Well, yeah, I put the puzzle pieces together as I was talking it through, where yes, like it would be a light machine gun then, right? Like the Spitfire from Apex, which is like a big gun, but it's not as big as an actual machine gun.
Not with that attitude, it won't be.
Aside from those games, I'm playing a couple of games that I want to rank for 2020 PSN games ranked. If you want me to go into those, or if you want to talk about your games first.
I mean, the stuff I've been playing is simple. Borderlands 3 Bounty of Blood, the latest DLC 3 for Borderlands 3. I finally kicked on. I'm not done with it or whatever, but already really digging it. It's funny because we done the Borderlands show, obviously promoting it, leading up to it, explaining what it was, debuting, stuff from it. We didn't play it. So I knew there was going to be a narrator in it, and I knew it was like, it's got this Old West vibe to it. You know what I mean? It's supposed to be like a cowboy story. Playing it is awesome and weird because it plays like a Borderlands Bastion, where like the narrator is on that level, where my character doesn't hear the narrator, but as I go through, the narrator's talking over what I'm doing, and like, he didn't understand why that would happen, but one day he will, kind of thing. And it was fucking cool, and I like that a lot. And like, there's a new character, Rose, in it that I think is really dope. You get a cool motorbike that it's just like, you're straight up motorcycle, but they call it, part of the whole thing you're going after is kind of this Western gang that rides dinosaurs. So like you get your own like motor dinosaur kind of thing to ride, but it's just like a really nice flying hover bike. And so yeah, I'm digging. I'm excited to be back into Borderlands. I'm having that thing where trying to get dropped back into a game I've played that long and that late. Now it is that thing of like, shit, I need to read up on the mayhem system, to figure out of like, I feel like the weapons I'm getting right now never are more powerful than what I have. So clearly I have it imbalanced in terms of what I'm doing. So I need to figure that out and get back onto that thing. Or I don't, I just run through and have fun in the story. But I'm interested to play more. And then, the other thing I put on here is Fall Guys. Of course, we have a Let's Play up on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames right now of Fall Guys, of Snowbike Mike, me, Kevin, Joey playing. Yesterday, Snowbike Mike gave me just a few pointers on things that have been sticking in my craw. And I found myself having way better games than I've had before. And last night I played it all by myself and won my second crown. So I'm like, oh shit, okay. Like now that I understand a little bit more about Fall Guys, I'm enjoying it even a little bit more. And I never wasn't enjoying it, but it was that thing where I was like, I'm not really drawn to go back to it all the time. And I wouldn't, when Avengers gets here and Kingdoms of Amalur gets here, I'll want to play those more than I want to play this. But for right now, I'm like, oh, I'm going to keep chipping away at this and doing that.
Nice. As far as my PSN games ranked, so over the last couple of weeks, there have been a couple of games that came out on PSN that I specifically was interested in. One of those was Alto Collection, which we talked about on the show.
I played some of this too. Yeah, I played some of this too.
It's pretty cool, right? It's an endless runner, side-scrolling. You're what now?
Awful at it.
Me too. It's more difficult than
you got to collect the llamas. You got to do tricks. You do this. I'm like, oh, that sounds easy. And then I do it and I start doing the trick and I just face plant. I'm like, huh, okay.
The part about it that is difficult is, so it is a side-scrolling endless runner where you are going from left to right, and you're essentially like this, for all intents and purposes, like a snowboarder that is going down this mountain, right? And you're collecting your llamas because your llamas are on the run. But like with all that, right, you're also like jumping over gaps and jumping over rocks and avoiding obstacles. There's only one button to press in the game, right? Because I assume that it's a mobile port, because it is an endless runner, and it is the jump button. If you hold the jump button, you then start to do like a flip backwards, and like you can like execute tricks and all that stuff, or like maintain your jump through it. And that is where the difficulty comes in, because I think naturally I want to hold jump when I am jumping over things, and in this game it means that you start to tilt your body, and if you are upside down when you land, that means your run is over because you then fall off. And I made that mistake so many times because I feel like in this game I have to like adjust the way I think about jumping, which is like the main obstacle. That said, like it's a pretty pleasant game. Like it's a pretty cool thing. I do like the art of it. I like how it looks visually. It's a pretty chill experience. Like Alto Collection is a collection of Alto's Odyssey, I think, and then Alto's either Journey or Adventure. I forget which one it's called. I think it's Alto's Journey. It might be Adventure.
There's definitely the two on there right at the start screen where you pick what you want to watch. Or play.
Yeah, one of them is Alto's Odyssey for sure. But yeah, pretty cool game.
Okay. So where do you want to rank it?
To rank it, this becomes difficult because I'm looking through and I like it. I don't necessarily love it. I'm looking at Biped right now.
Ooh,
and I'd say I like Biped more than this. But then I look at Rogue Company. And I'd also say I like Road Company more than this. And so
dear.
Yeah. So I make my way down to Under Hero for me. And Void Bastards.
So you're in the 20s.
Hey, I'm in the 20s, right? 22, 23. I'm going to place Alto Collection under Hero, above Void Bastards at number 3.
23.
So there you go.
Number 23, Alto Collection has been added to the thing.
Does that? How does that sit with you? Somebody who's
totally
played
fine. I played Alto Collection one night before bed for 30 minutes or whatever, and I was like, I like the whole 3-star man. I like when you start a level, or I shouldn't even say that. When you beat it, it gives you then 3 new objectives, right? And that's kind of like the level system of it to go do these things, and they don't have to all be done at once. I like that, but I haven't gone back to it since that first night because it was like, oh, I get this. All right, cool.
Yeah, it's not necessarily as addictive of a endless runner as I think I'd like it to be. When I think of the endless runners that I've played,
sure.
Usually I can't pull myself away when I find a really good one, and so I did pull myself away this time.
Of course, for this 2020 PSN Games rank thing, you remember, ladies and gentlemen, each week we were supposed to read through the drop on the blog, pick a different PSN games to rank, then we would rank it in one giant list. We'd have 104 at the end because we'd have 52 weeks, et cetera, et cetera. Of course, then they stopped doing the drop, kind of threw a wrench in our works. Now we just put games on there. You can keep up at kindoffunny.com/104 list. I want to know, where do you want to put Fall Guys?
Oh, we're doing Fall Guys for this?
Fall Guys is a PSN game we've been playing.
I mean, we did have that stipulation in the original segment that if you're planning on playing it,
were you planning on playing Fall Guys forever? You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, I was definitely planning on playing Fall Guys.
Yeah, me too. I guess I don't know. I just thought of something else in there. Fine. Where do you want to talk to me about your next game?
My next game is Manifold Garden, which now that I think about it, I was planning on playing Manifold Garden.
Maybe gotcha.
Maybe I don't do it for this segment,
gotcha,
but I'll talk about it anyway. Manifold Garden is a game that came out on PC late last year, finally made its way to consoles, and I've actually been waiting for this game to come out because looking at it, it looks like games that I love, right? It is this first-person, stylish puzzle game,
right?
And that kind of falls in line with so many other games that I love. Games like Antichamber, however you want to pronounce that came out on PC early this decade. That is like the immediate comparison I go to because it does have like a similar kind of art style when you look at the lines of it and a lot of the visual aesthetic. But I then think of The Witness or Portal or Cube, right? Sure. Like all these games being games that I love. Manifold Garden is very much of that ilk of, hey, yeah, this is a first-person game. We're and Superliminal, actually, you can throw that in there too. We're playing around with perspective and like with weird concepts in order to allow you to solve puzzles. The whole gimmick/theme in this game is a couple things, right? One, it obviously takes a lot of influence from MC Escher, where it does like a lot of like it plays around with the concept of infinity a lot and like looping architecture and a lot of stuff. And so like when you think of Escher, right, you think of the stairs thing of like the stairs that go into each other and okay, now there's infinite stairs. The game's visual design seems to take inspiration and like go all the way in terms of creating a whole world and a whole space that is somewhat, I was going to use the word symmetrical, but everything's not technically symmetrical, but is looping and does kind of play into each other, right? And so you can jump off a ledge, for example, and you will end up right back on that, like in that same space, right? If you aim your jump and you like you basically loop around, right?
Sure, okay.
in the same world, if that makes sense. And so it plays a lot around with that. The game also plays a lot around with the idea of gravity in a cube space, and so. Basically,
it's already breaking my brain,
dude. This game is so brain breaking. I love it. Basically, you can go to any other surface, press R2, and that'll then shift the gravity that you're working with in game
to be where your feet are.
Yes, exactly.
Gotcha.
And so, like, for example, I am looking at a wall right now, right directly in front of me, the 90-degree wall that I'm facing. If I go to the wall, press R2. the game then will shift perspective, and I'm now standing directly on that wall, and I'm working on that wall I'm walking on that wall and like using that as a space. Translates a lot better visually in game. Thank you, Kevin, for bringing up the video.
KD on it.
Yeah, so exactly that's what I'm talking about, where you go on a wall and then that shifts what you're working with, and so you solve puzzles that way. The game also has like cubes. It's weird how this feels like more of a cube game than actual cube games. If you're familiar with Cube, QUBE.
I remember Cube. Yeah, I remember Cube.
Yeah, because you're working with cubes, and each cube correlates to one plane on that 6-side plane of a cube. And so you're solving puzzles based on, all right, how do I get this blue cube over to like this space? Like, it's dealing with like a lot of high concepts.
It was one of those where I know this is your kind of jam, and I know you've been excited for this. And when I watched one of the clips you put up on Twitter, it was like, I don't understand what the fuck is going on.
Yeah, and so like if you look at the video right in the distance, you see other structures. Those other structures are the same structure you're standing on right now. And so like if you change gravity to where that is under you, and you step off and you land on it, you will basically be in the same place that you are now. That's essentially the idea of it. And as I understand, the game is about 5 hours long. And so the person's jumping off right now.
Jeez.
He's about to land.
Oh
and
whenever this gives me like vertigo.
Yeah, whenever they land, boom, that is the same place where they just were. And so that actually explains what I was trying to explain. The game is about
tight.
Dude,
this
game
is
is
a GoPro
so fucking
game,
tight.
Kevin.
It's about 5 hours long as far as I understand. I am about 3.5 hours in. And so I'm like 2/3 of the way through, and I absolutely adore this game. It is kind of everything that I want from this type of game. It is like it's hitting that upper echelon of, man, this game is flashing me back to my time with The Witness, and The Witness is a game I adore because that game was so good with its puzzles. It was so clever with its puzzles, and it had those moments where your mind would be blown because you did a thing that you didn't expect, right? Or like you discovered a way to do a puzzle that you didn't expect. Same thing with games like Portal. I think it's beloved because of the story and because of the writing, but the puzzles in that game are also very great.
Of course.
Manful Garden has those moments for me of being like, oh, I can't believe this worked the way I wanted it to, or oh man, like they're doing some really smart things in terms of the ways in which they're asking you to solve puzzles, right? A lot of the solutions it feels like they're thinking steps ahead of where you're at any given moment, which is really cool. And the thing I'll give to this game too is that I've never been too stuck in this game. Like,
really, see, that's my problem with puzzle games, where I'll be doing it for a while and then you like Witness. My plan with The Witness was, I know this isn't a game for me. I know I'm not a big puzzle dude, but I know this game's great. So I'm going to play it until I get to that first puzzle that takes me too long, and I'll stop. And I was surprised I made it deeper than I thought I would. But that's still what turns me off most of the time, where I don't mind getting stuck on a puzzle and then figuring it out. But when you do just feel your head getting rammed into it over and over again, and then the moment you go look at a guide, I'm like, well, this is just defeats the purpose of the game.
There's only been one point in which I was like, oh man, I am stuck here. I might need a guide or something, right? And like, I think the thing that this game does that is really good is that it makes you feel like everything is like, it makes you feel like the world is at your disposal in terms of, oh man, how do I do this thing, right? It feels like there are infinite possibilities because like that is kind of the point of the game, is to make everything kind of feel bigger than it is. But I never really felt like I was beating my head over trying to figure out like, okay, how do I do this thing for a good like 10 minutes, right? I've never hit that point because pretty much all the solutions that I found have been not self-explanatory, but they've all made sense in a way where I was like, yep, all right, cool. That is the natural progression of where things go. And man, I can't say enough good things. It maintains that feeling too of discovery that I feel like you want from a puzzle game like this, where when you find a new mechanic, it does give off a cool feeling of like, oh shoot, that makes sense, right? Like there's a point where I guess it's hard to really spoil this game, but like there's a mechanic in this game that
don't spoil every puzzle.
There's a mechanic in this game that is like it's one of the main mechanics in terms of how puzzles work, where all of the planes, and so like the 6 different planes of a cube, right, that you're working with as far as how you rotate the world, those all correlate with a color, which means that like yellow cubes, right, because you find cubes in the world that you can place around, yellow cubes correlate to a specific space on a cube, right? Let's say it is the right side of a cube.
Sure.
So everything that you find in the game that is yellow is always going to fall to that side of gravity. And yellow cubes you can't use on a blue plane, for example. You can't use on a red plane, for example. And like figuring that out felt like a cool discovery because the game doesn't tell you much. The game doesn't really have any story. It doesn't have any dialogue. Like it knows how much it knows how much it can bite off and chew, right? It doesn't go too far as like being like, oh yeah, we're gonna tell you this thing that's larger than life, which is kind of where Cube fell apart for me because Cube has a story and Cube felt like that story in Cube didn't feel cool.
Gotcha.
It didn't knock me away. Same with Superliminal. Actually, Superliminal had a story where, you know, I thought they did some cool, clever things there, but also came off at points as pretentious. Yeah, Manifold Garden doesn't have that. Like, it doesn't let that get in its way. It is purely a puzzle game that is doing a bunch of cool different things. And I highly recommend anybody go check it out if this fascinates you, because I am blown away by this game. I'm not going to rate it, but if I was going to rate it, it would be my number one on the 2020 PSN Games ranked.
But because you didn't want to rate Fall Guys, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. Bless
well, where would you have put Fall Guys? Because I probably would have put it at number one.
See, I think I would have gone number two. So I would have put it behind Telling Lies above John Wick X. But you wanted to play by your rules. You didn't want to have any fun today on the show. You hate to see it, Kevin.
I mean, do we want? We can change the rules right now.
We're not changing the rules. Let's move on. Because to be fair,
now that I'm looking at the list, I did rank Superliminal, which I probably would have played anyway.
See, gloves are off.
Do you want to do it? Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. All right. So where you want to put your guy? Where you want to put Manifold Garden?
I want to put it number one.
Okay. And then the question becomes, what do you want to do with Fall Guys?
I'm with you as far as number two.
I love Telling Lies. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And like Manifold Garden, I'd put above Fall Guys for myself. Telling Lies and Fall Guys, I could go either way on that.
Okay.
And so I'm down with number three.
Okay, because I love that Telling Lies.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there you go.
It's a hot top three, and it's a hot top five, honestly.
We got a brand new top 10 here for you on the PSN list. Remember, kindoffunny.com/104 list. Number 1, Manifold Garden. Number 2, Telling Lies. Number 3, Fall Guys. Number 4, John Wick Hex. Number 5, Streets of Rage 4. Number 6, Under Night in Birth. Number 7, Superliminal. Number 8, Hunt Down. Number 9, Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. Number 10, Round Guard. Ladies and gentlemen, the list rolls on. You love to see it.
You love to see it.
How about some trophies and chill? Blessing, Adeoye Jr.
I'm down to chill.
Nicole Humphrey, a kind of funny best friend for years and years and years and years, wrote in with her PSN profile. Are you prepared?
I am prepared.
PSN profile, NMH2105. Terrible name, Nicole. Fix it. When I beat Persona 5 in 2017, it instantly became one of my all-time favorite games, and I knew it had to be my 100th platinum. At the start of 2020, I knew this would be the year that I reached the 100th platinum milestone, and I only had a few more trophies on the OG Persona 5 list before the platinum. So, of course, Atlas decided to release Persona 5 Royal as the definitive edition of Persona 5, and obviously, I had to platinum them both. Having reached Platinum 100, I can think of no better celebration than submitting my trophy list for review to the man who gave me the trophy addiction in the first place. I just want to note, as you peruse my list, you will see that despite not being a huge Uncharted fan, I've platinumed all the Uncharted games except the card game. What I'm trying to say, ... Greg Miller is a fake fan. Okay, I love you. Bye. Nicole.
Damn. Called you out.
Don't push my buttons. All right. I don't have the Uncharted Platinum in Lost Legacy or Golden Abyss, and I don't want to hear anything about it. All right.
Platinum Lost Legacy, man.
I've thought about it, and then I was like, man, it's not the best Uncharted game, and that's where we get into problems. You know, that's where I get them. On PSN profiles, looking at NMH2105, Nicole's PSN tagline on her profile is Beyond. She's level 24 in trophies, currently has 5,465 trophies, still sitting at the 100th platinum. Let's look into these there platinums. What do you say, Blessing, Adeoye?
Let's do it. I mean, the one I'm looking at right now is Zero Time Dilemma, and man, like, shout out to that. That is a game that I've been very curious about because I've heard really good things about it, but I've never gotten around to playing it.
She does have the platinum in The Witness. If you wanted to, get over
Jesus.
there.
That's difficult.
I love that reaction. That was like painful on your part.
Wow.
We have platinums in Kingdom Hearts, Read Chain of Memories, Kingdom Hearts 2, Kingdom Hearts 3. I like how they all lined up perfectly.
Yeah.
Platinum in Spider-Man, but not all the trophies. You're missing the New Game Plus, I assume, and hardest difficulty. Platinum in the Sexy Brutale. Platinum in Watch Dogs. There's Zero Time Dilemma, like you were talking about. Ratchet and Clank 2, First Light, Transistor. Get some Supergiant in there. Grim Fandango. Then we get some Uncharted, Lost Legacy there.
Dude, Nicole has a great list here. Do you know?
Yeah, that's the thing. I have so many Garbo plats, and so a lot of us do because we're trophy whores. She's got like great plats,
legitimate platinums.
Yeah,
games like exactly. Undertale, a platinum that is relatively easy that Greg Miller could get but refuses to get.
Not gonna get it. Not gonna do it. I don't want to. Oh, look at this game. It's NES, and it's I played 5 times, and I understand the depression.
You only gotta play it once. Just play one pass this playthrough.
That's what I say. You'll get the vibe. Smart as you got all the trophies in on Vita. I appreciate that. There's the Golden Abyss one right there. Yeah. Your first platinum was Assassin's Creed 3, then Assassin's Creed 2, then Infamous, then Uncharted Golden Abyss.
What if I told you Undertale on Vita? What if I told you it had 2 trophy lists? I don't think that's true, honestly. I honestly don't think that's true, but it is on Vita. And like the game is short. Like the game itself, the game itself probably only takes like 5 hours, I imagine, to play through an actual good pacifist playthrough. And the platinum is honestly shorter than that because you don't got to beat the game to get the platinum. It's like a 3-hour platinum probably.
This doesn't do it for me. Didn't we learn our lesson with Shadow Colossus? Like I've tried Undertale. I was excited when Undertale came to Vita. I remember playing it on a plane. Just being like,
yeah. That's fair. Like you not loving Shadow Colossus, I can sit with and accept. If you came out and you started to slander Undertale, I feel like that's when we started to get into fisticuffs. Like that's when I started to buy boxing gloves, and I'm like, all right, I got to pay a visit to this man's house.
Is your reach 6 feet apart? Could you get me?
Yeah.
Nicole, thank you so much for your trophy list. We're big fans of you. Thanks for being big fans of us. Then a man we know, Nathan Choquette, pops up with the chill part of trophies. Greg, please make sure Blessing makes his trophies public again during the show. The people want to know what his stats look like. Blessing, we talked about this last episode.
I forgot.
You are dismissed from the show until the post show. Go fix it. Go do it. Turn on your PlayStation. Undo your. I know it sucks being one of the
my trophies aren't even that fascinating.
Everybody's fascinated by you. All right.
I don't get trophies like that. You know.
Kevin, do me a favor and mute him until he's got his trophies.
All right.
Again. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been PS I Love You XOXO. Remember, the show doesn't stop. You can go to patreon.com/kindafunnygames. We're gonna have a post show go up right over there. Look at him. He's barefoot. Also, are those pajama pants? Those look really comfortable. If you don't want to give us any money, I totally understand. You can get the show each and every week, Tuesday, 6 a.m., youtube.com/kindafunny. He's just stretching now. youtube.com/kindafunnygames and podcast services around the globe. No matter where you get it, thank you for your support. Please consider subscribing to the channel, liking the videos, subscribing to the podcast feed, leaving a review. All that really, really helps us. Of course, if you don't want to do any of that, no big deal. Just enjoy the show. Have a good time. I hope you're having a good drive right now. I hope you're having a great time. Look at how angry he is, Kevin, as he has turned on this thing. He's got to go in there and do it. Like, this is so hard. Like, we're asking so much to see what he's doing all the time. Ladies and gentlemen, we got a post show to do, but until next time, it's been our pleasure to serve you.